Oh, I love this. Do your job. No days off. No days off. That's what this bitch is all about, by the way. Happy New Year's Eve to everybody who's checking out the National Football Show with Big Sills. We're powered by our friends at BetUS. By the way, because of the holidays, we are going to cut it short at 5 o'clock Eastern today so everybody can go out and have themselves a great time. But we will be there tomorrow morning when it comes to New Year's Day. A lot of football talk about, obviously, college bowl games, and also the National Football League's final week of the regular season is this week. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Oh, by the way, legendary Merrill Reese will be with us at 4:30 right before we end the show there at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you hit that like button. Now all Super Chats go to the top. We appreciate everybody coming aboard here on New Year's Eve. Thank you guys so much. You're awesome. By the way, we're going to get a little salty here today. How you doing? Okay? College bowl games going on right now, obviously. We got a game tonight in the playoffs that's going to be significant. Obviously, on New Year's, that's when Big Sills always played, was on New Year's. We don't play prior to New Year's Day. How you doing? About time Sills dress for once not wearing that trash-ass Miami gear. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about, Junior? Are you kidding me? That's superstar Miami stuff, man. How you doing there? Six looks like a journalist. A journalist? You just said asshole to me. Come on now, man. Big Sills ain't no journalist. Hit that damn like button. How you doing? This ought to be good. Never mind, I see the shitty Miami logo. How you doing? One of the most iconic logos in all of sports. And by the way, University of Miami, you're welcome. How you doing? Hey, by the way, I got to tell you guys something. All the viewers we have send me all kinds of shit about years past and old school stuff. I got to tell you, man, thank you guys so much. You guys found shit that I didn't even know I made. Like all-American teams and like all-independent teams in those magazines, those preview magazines. I got to tell you, man, thank you, man. It's pretty cool. I get them DM to me on my Twitter at Dan Sileo Show, and you guys send that shit to me all the time, man, and I loved it, man. I've been posting some of it. One of them I got where I was the 56th player taken in the 88 draft. Funny, I played in 87 in the NFL. And I got a bunch of magazine stuff that you guys sent to me, man. Thank you guys so much, man. It's pretty cool. My daughter goes, you made those teams, Sporting News? And I go, yeah, I made it. It may not look like it now, but at one time, hey, YouTube it. How you doing, right? Go on the internet. I got to look on the internet sometimes to find out how good I was. Okay? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. Do me a favor. Hit the like button, please. Absolutely awesome. By the way, Xander Krause broke some news. This guy doesn't even know it. Xander broke some news yesterday. It's now official. Nick Sirianni's got to go ask his daddies if Barkley can break the record or not. Oh, I'm going to talk to the players and the janitor and the car parking attendants. I'm going to get everybody's opinion. And then I'm going to even ask Howie and Jeffrey. Well, fuck, those guys' other opinions don't matter. The players' opinions don't matter if they want to break the record or not. Nick's dads are going to make the call. That just shows you right there. This guy, can you imagine Jimmy Johnson or even Buddy Ryan having Norman Brandon come down and tell Buddy Ryan what's best for his players? He'd look at that guy and go, fuck you. I know what's best for my players. There lies the whole system laid out in front of you. I heard that shit on WIP and I realized right then and there, I was like, shit, Xander called it. I'm going to get the players' input, and then I'm going to get the car parking attendants' opinions, and then I'm going to get the janitors and the Slurpee guys, Big Dom, of course, shit. And I'm going to ask everybody's opinion. Hey, do you think we should let Saquon break that record this week? What do you think? Well, wait a minute. Have you asked your dad yet? No, I'm going to go ask my dad, Howie and Jeffrey, here in a minute. I'm going to go ask my dad. Dad, is it okay if Saquon breaks the record? We'll get back to you, son. I'll let you know in a minute here. Me and Howie have to huddle. Well, the players want it. Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'll let you know what we're going to do. They may want it. But, hey, at the end of the day, I'll let you know what we're going to do. Hey, Nicky. That guy has no fucking say over his team. He basically told you. Hey, but like Xander said, that's the way of the world there in Philly, man. The players want it. Fucking, I don't care what the players want. They could have wanted Sean Desai last year. I didn't give a shit. I'm going to make the call. What's best for this bitch, not Lane Johnson or Jordan Milano. I don't care. I mean, hey, so we'll wait for the puff of smoke. You know, like when you get a new pope there at the Vatican, and you know when the pope takes a knee and you're looking for a new one, all the cardinals vote, and you see that smoke coming out. Well, we'll see some smoke coming out of Jeffrey Lurie's office, and we'll know that there's a decision that's been made probably by Thursday and what they're going to do. They'll get all their analytics idiots together and go, well, you know, it must be like a Poindexter meeting. And you get everybody that worked at the local library in Philly, and they sit down and they go, well, why do you happen to think that this is probably not the analytical way to look at things here, and that there's a 72% chance that he could get nicked up, and there's a probability of about a 54% chance that he could probably hurt his ankle or his nose or his toe. And then what we'll do is we'll make a compromising decision, and we'll get back to you and we'll put it through the computer. It must be so nerdy in there. Holy shit. Those are the guys you want to smash their faces in dodgeball. I mean, it'd be like sitting around in a room with the host at WIP. It just would be like sitting around listening to those guys. Dude, one of the worst things I ever had to do in my life was sit around in a meeting with radio guys and all of these dorks that were in there and these non-athletic guys giving opinions on sports. And I used to sit there and go, holy shit, what am I doing in here with these guys? Holy man, God almighty. In the worm of Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. I like that. How you doing? Hey, so we'll know soon what Jeffrey and Howie want to do, not what Nick wants to do, what's best for his team. I'm going to get everybody's opinion, and we'll put it through the meat grinder, and we'll put it through the nerd machine in Jeffrey Lurie's kid's office, Julian. And when Julian comes out with all of his Poindexters and bookworms, we'll know what the best course is for us to go down the line on whether or not Barkley will break the record. Holy shit. Your team is run by nerds. It's right there for you, man. Little Howie and then Jeffrey, two of the most non-athletic people you'll ever take a look at, are going to make a decision on a historic record that many people have broached but not gone through and taken. A 40-year NFL record. That thing is significant, like 61 home runs was back in the day when you were going after that record. That's how nobody knows the all-time passing record for a single season. But you know 2105. Okay? You know, because that's a man's record. Everyone knows what 2105 is. There's very few records in the NFL left that could be synonymous with the NFL. I don't know how many touchdown passes in a single season any longer. I don't know how many single season yardage. I think Mahomes has it. I don't know exactly what the number is. Okay? So we'll get that total soon, or we'll get that word from Mount High and the Eagle organization of what they're going to do. Because Nick said it today on WIP. You know, I got to go talk to my dads. Or I think he said I got to go talk to the GM, Howie and Jeffrey. And we'll get their input as well. Their input is to say, Whatever they're going to, hey, can you imagine this? Not the players are going to do it. Hey, guys, guess what? We're going to do it anyway, and we're not going to listen to what you're going to say. The owner and GM. Yeah, that'll go well. Yeah. Only reason Nick has a job is because he goes to them with decisions like this. Nick has no say, and nor do the players. Don't kid yourself. And I hear people like John McMullen and some of these other people going, the players don't give a shit. Yeah, okay. That's why it's a debate. If you don't care about anything, you don't talk about it. If something's irrelevant, you don't bring it up. It's a topic of conversation on social media and across the league right now. What is he going to do? Why? Because it's a historic record. Okay? That's right. Knee pad Nick. Dude, it's pretty wild, man. It must be like you know, you have to. I wonder if you have to take your shoes off and walk around on your knees in Jeffrey Lurie's office. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, okay. We won't let him break the record. Okay, yes. And then you waddle around. Holy cow! Then you waddle out of his office, and then you get to stand up when you leave his office. Holy shit! Classic. I have a question for you, by the way. We got a bunch of great topics. Please hit the like button. Okay, you just waddle out, right, M. Reyes? You just waddle out of the office there, man. You're like, hey. Then you get to stand up. Can't stand up for yourself in Philly. Okay? You got to go ask your dad what's best for your team. Okay. Yeah, I could just see Jimmy Johnson used to tell Jerry Jones to get the fuck off the sidelines. Nobody spoke to Jerry like that. I saw this. He used to go like this. Get that guy the fuck out of my locker room. Jerry Jones was not allowed in the locker room after games unless it was a Super Bowl. Jimmy wouldn't allow that. Nobody got near his players. Nobody. By the way, have you ever seen an executive around Mike Tomlin's players? Yeah, okay. Yeah. You ever seen an executive around Mike Tomlin's players? The GM or the owner or anybody? I've never seen an owner from the Pittsburgh Steelers around any Steeler coach, let alone Mike Tomlin. Okay? I mean, could you imagine the GM is hanging over Mike Tomlin's shoulder like how he hangs over Nick's shoulder? I mean, but dude, Mike McCarthy too in Dallas, he's got that bullshit. Head coaches don't have that shit with say in their locker room. Nobody comes near their players. Those are their guys, not the owner's guys. The owner pays them. You know, do you understand Jeffrey Lurie's only responsibility in this organization is to pay the guys? Nothing more. But he makes it more. Same with the GM. Your job is to find players and cut contracts. Plain and simple. You're not supposed to be involved in the game plan. You're not supposed to be involved in roster decisions on the day. That is not your decision, but it is. That's why you got to ask a question whether or not your guy can play this week. Imagine that. And I wonder if there's an incentive in the contract that says if he breaks the single season record, he gets $3 million. I hope some of the media people ask if there's a rushing title incentive that's in there as well. Because most players have those. Lead the league in receptions, lead the league in yardage, receptions, rushing, all that shit. Nick is going to be coming out with lipstick on. Holy cow, and his eyelashes are going to be hanging. You know, his hey, by the way, is mascara running? Yeah. Hey, Big Sills, Happy New Year's to you, my friend. I have one demand. If we make it through the tape, you better be here for the parade. Okay? That's why Barkley needs this. Fair enough. You guys run through the tape, I'll be there for the parade. I'll give you that. Yes. Yes. Dana's probably going, no. Yes, I will. I will promise you. Okay? I will be there for the parade if you guys run through the tape. Okay? I will broadcast live somewhere so that we can make it all a party. And we can have like Sillapalooza. And everybody can come aboard with us. Hit the like button here, guys. I appreciate it. What the fuck is this? Look, what is this? My own people turning on me. Holy shit, I feel like Odyssey. I will, man. I swear to beans, I will. I have one question for you guys. I have one question. And actually, this came to me prior to going on the air. Please hit the like button. Give me a total on where we are in likes. Only 20 minutes in. I appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for coming aboard here on New Year's Eve. I appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. All right. So if Carson Wentz had thrown for 2,903 yards and 18 touchdowns, how do you think they'd be treating him in Philly? How do you think they'd be treating him in Philly? If he had 2,903 for the season and was making $50 million, how do you think the fans in Philadelphia would be treating Carson Wentz? Just curious. A topic came to me. Elite. Yeah. No. We haven't done 2,903 Jack Wagon. How would fans, I've never asked this question. Fucking guy's an idiot. He just made that up. I've never asked this question because Hurts has never thrown for 2,903. Come on, little Nick, grow a pair of balls. Tell the NFL fantasy nerds to sit back and watch the show. And little Nicky will get my respect. How you doing, Big Marshall? Hey, wait a minute here. You know what you would be doing to Carson Wentz right now. This fucking guy sucks. Get this guy's ass out of here. He ain't no elite quarterback. 2,903 passing yards in 15 games? That sucks. Are you crazy? Get this guy out of here. We need somebody better. Oh, no, but as Pumper would say, not the Jalenites. Oh, well, the guy's gained 2,000 yards over here, so that's compromised the passing game. No, it hasn't. You watched Jared Goff last night? You know, compromising. They would crucify, exactly. They would be crucifying Carson Wentz. This is a great tweet. I'll be tweeting this out at Dan Sileo show right after the program. You know for a fact if that was Carson Wentz, these guys, everybody in Philadelphia, including the media, they would be killing. They would absolutely be killing Carson Wentz for throwing for such a shitty number. I mean, let's be candid here. By the way, this is another great misnomer about what you guys have done in the passing game this year. So last night, Jared Goff throws for 303 yards and 3 touchdowns last night against the 49ers. And the Lions rushed for 162 yards. Gee, that's funny. Those fuckers can do it. And they do it. No, not us. Our guy throws for 108, and we rush for 260. Okay. All right. I mean, they don't have a problem with balance. And I would say this, Jahmyr Gibbs, who is better than I thought he was when he was at Alabama. Actually, this guy may be a better running back than Najee Harris. I didn't think so when he was at Bama, but he has been he's been a massive upgrade. And this is why they went out and got him and replaced him with, and replaced DeAndre Hopkins with this guy. I mean, they ran for 162 yards last night. How you doing? They can do it. How come you can't? Okay? I mean, well, if he's a top 3 running back, you got the best running back. Let me see where Jared Goff is right now going into his final season this year. Because you guys are telling me that the passing yards in Philly are being affected by the running game. So right now, Jared Goff is on pace for 4,700 passing yards and 38 touchdowns. and 71 completion percentage. And you're going to have a team rush for over $2,000 combined with what Montgomery did and what Gibbs is doing. How come they can do it? How come Detroit gets it done? They got a better play caller, and they got a quarterback that fits what they want to do up there. They got a play caller, Ben Johnson, okay, who's going to get a lot of job offers as soon as this season's over, whether it's a Super Bowl win. That's my prediction. I predicted them at the beginning of the year to win the Super Bowl, the Detroit Lions. Game this weekend determines everything. I didn't really watch a ton of that game last night because that game meant nothing at the end of the day. It meant absolutely nothing. This game this weekend means everything. It's for home field advantage. And whoever gets that gets the opportunity to keep their thing in a dome and keep their games all in their place, Minneapolis and also in Detroit. So, I mean, incredible that it would come down. How about this too, man? Can you believe David Tepper? David Tepper, just to stay in the North a little bit, David Tepper got rid of Baker Mayfield. I want to show you this. Got rid of Baker Mayfield and got rid of Sam Darnold. And combined, those guys have thrown for 9,000 yards this year. Did you hear what I said? David Tepper fired both those quarterbacks. And they're going to throw for $9,000 this year combined. Mayfield and Darnold. Hey, you might want a guy in there to evaluate your quarterbacks better than your shitty owner. We know the answer, Sills, but let's see if one of the hurt Avengers will be honest with themselves. Never happened. Okay? Vikings will win this Sunday. How you doing? I wouldn't be shocked. I think that's a pick'em game. Okay? I think that's a pick'em game. Absolutely do. Look at this guy. How could this guy have a quarterback factory when your quarterback has a quarterback offensive passing game 31st? Well, let me see where it is. Because I think the backups actually, Xander, improved the passing game from a week ago. So let me see this here. If the passing game was improved by Tanner Manning and by our boy there, let's see. Yeah, they went from 31st to 30th. Whoa! How are you doing? Quarterback factory, QB factory, 30th ranked passing offense, quarterback factory. Yes, sir. All right. So this actually, get this. So we're going to go right into it. I actually like this topic, and I can't lie. This came from Xander, and I like it. Listen, the only reason I'm giving Xander some love in this is because he's actually been very good over the last 4 months, or I would own this because I truly don't give a shit what most of the stuff I say, this is mine. But Xander had a great conversation here. 2025 schedule, Chargers, L, Chiefs, L, Green Bay, win, Minnesota, L, Denver, win, Detroit, L. Eagles, no chance. Next year, Happy New Year, Dan and Xander. Eagles salary cap hell. Hollywood, that's a pretty true comment there, but I'm sure Howie will work his magic to get those numbers down. This actually comes from Xander Krause himself. Especially with what I just said about balance in Detroit. Okay? Now, here's the difference, though. I wonder if Ben Johnson would take a job that doesn't have a quarterback that's kind of in the same light of Jared Goff. If he goes somewhere, it's going to be like Jacksonville, and it's going to be like a place that has a drop back guy. If Kyle Shanahan leaves San Francisco, he could take that job, something like that. Because you want to match up styles. Okay? All right. There's a guy in Indianapolis right now. And you talk about shitty owners. Jim Irsay, who's going to fire Shane Steichen. Okay? Do you bring him in as the new OC and fire Kellen and put him back with Jalen Hurts? Do you? Let me hear your thoughts on this. How about this? Even if Kellen wins the Super Bowl, let's add that dynamic. If Kellen wins the Super Bowl and Shane Steichen's fired, do you bring him in to improve the passing game? Because Kellen Moore has been atrocious this year in the passing game. He has not improved it. And you're hoping he improves it next year. You're hoping. You don't know if he can. You're not sure. And this is all going to rely on Barkley having another exceptional year next year. How many people think Barkley's going to go for $2,000 next year? After carrying the ball 300 and he carries it this weekend. He'll carry it 360 times. He's 28 next year. You tell me, what would you do? I'll give you my take here in a minute. Would you bring Shane in? Jalen's best year of his career was under Shane Steichen. By the way, what was his record? After the 2-5 start, they went on a really great run, and then they won 14 games with him. Weren't they something like 23-5 with Shane calling the plays? Something like that, right? Hurts was an MVP candidate. Hurts looked the best with Shane. Do you bring Shane in if he gets canned? Indianapolis is a train wreck. Shane made the worst comment you could possibly make today after Pat McAfee went all in on them. Pat said, you're late to meetings. You don't have any accountability in the building. You know what Shane said today? Well, not everybody's on time. Dog, that's a fucking terrible answer. That's a lack of discipline answer. That's just to throw shit back at Pat. You look terrible when you make a comment like that. Nobody should. Dude, when you're making that kind of money, you don't show up late. Dude, how about this? When you have a passion for something that you do, you don't show up late. You're there every day. You're there every single day, and you're ready to go, and you don't do layups. So Shane fires back and says, well, not everybody's on time. And then that asshole quarterback they have, Anthony Richardson, has the worst attitude of anybody I've ever heard. By the way, did you hear this week? So according to Pat, the guy had a foot injury, and, nobody knew it wasn't on the injured list, so he didn't practice. All of a sudden, there he was practicing again. Pat was like this. He's like, okay. So with this guy didn't feel like playing today, so, he didn't want to practice. Then they practiced him when he felt like it. He yanks himself out of games when he's tired. I mean, this guy's got the worst attitude I've ever seen for a pro football quarterback who's the face of your franchise, who you want to have success for. When you're the first-round draft choice of a quarterback of a football team in the NFL, they want you. They're going to go overboard to do everything for you to be successful. Because there's a lot of people's asses on the line when you draft a guy number one or a first-round pick. They're going to do everything. Even if you stink, you're going to get opportunities. This guy's not practicing or playing because he's tired. I mean, how about this? I don't know if Anthony Richardson's a bust. I know his attitude is. And how could you be great if you have a bust attitude? If you don't have the desire to be great, how can you be great even if you have great athleticism? You'll never achieve what you want. You know what made Jordan superstar great? What made him great? He had phenomenal talent, and he had even better and more motivation to be the greatest. That's what propelled him. He went over and above his athleticism because of his desire to want to be number one. He didn't want to be good. He wanted to be the greatest of all time. You can't be the greatest of, dude, everybody should strive in every single thing they do, no matter what your profession is, to do it to the best of your ability. So then you look back at your life and you go like this: I gave it my all. hey, man, it may not have given me the riches financially that I wanted to achieve. But the one thing I did do, I was happy and content with my life. Being content with your life at the end is the most important thing. When my grandfather died, my grandfather raised all these family members, me included. He worked 4 jobs. I went on them with him. Cement truck, fisherman, fireman, slept at the firehouses with him. I saw what he did. I knew what he did. And when my grandfather died, I can't think my grandfather was sad about one thing. Because my grandfather was a man. It's the only man I've ever really respected as a young kid. My Uncle Chuck, my Uncle Rich, a couple guys like that. But man, my grandfather was a born leader. Okay? And he was content in his life. You look at a guy like Anthony Richardson and you're like, yeah, I don't want to play today. Fuck you, man. What do you mean you don't want to play today? Dude, that's why these guys look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's driven by the fact that there were other people drafted ahead of him. And remember what he told Bob Kraft? This will be the greatest decision you've ever made in your life, was drafting me. Turned out to be true, and he's a 6th rounder. You imagine a 6th round. You imagine Tanner McKee coming up to Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie, look at them guys in the face and going, I'm the greatest decision you've ever made in your life. This is before this guy even started. He said that. Okay? I mean, right? I mean, Tanner McKee going up to those guys will look at them and go, you know what, I don't know. I love that shit, man. Would you hire Steichen? Yeah. Because he knows how to run the RPO. My only problem with Steichen would be, are you going to be able to protect Jalen Hurts better than what you did when every quarterback you've injured because of this RPO system? Now with Barkley there, that helps it. I think Shane would be a better fit. Dude, and there's no stones at Kellen. I just think he's a better fit. Like, get this. The Dolphin defense is having a good year this year. Okay? They did it really with Vic a year ago. Vic's a better fit here. That's how that shit works. Some places it's just a better fit. Whether you're a talk show host, a coach, an insurance guy, it doesn't matter. Sometimes places you go to, you don't fit. I can't tell you how many jobs that I've gone to. Again, I've only had 5 broadcasting jobs. But I go to Miami. They gave me $250,000, right? Okay? Miami. I got to the station. I hated 99% of the people that worked there, including the general manager who used to run your 97.5. I couldn't stand. I hated every human in the building. I worked at iHeart, Clear Channel, for 15 years. I loved 99% of the people in the building. I was making less, but I loved everybody in the building. I had a great environment. I had a great sales team. I got along with everybody. Okay? I got down to Miami. I couldn't stand anybody because you know why? They didn't want to work hard enough. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Hence why that other station in Philadelphia is getting murdered every day. They still don't know what they're doing. Do you think Hurts is a better quarterback than Purdy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Brock Purdy utilizes his talent better, and that's got a better play calling coach and a better coordinator. Hurts is a better athlete. So, what does athleticism have to fucking do with quarterbacking? Nothing. Zero. You think Tom Brady's a better athlete than Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. You think Tom Brady's a better athlete than Jalen Hurts? No. Who would you take in a 60-minute ball game? I mean, okay, end of the day, right? Hey, by the way, please hit the like button. Give me a total on that like button there. Okay? Dan comes into Philly and starts bashing on other shows. What the fuck gives him the right to do that? It's my fucking show, and I get to say and do whatever I want night. And I'll give you another reason why. Because those stations are going around your fucking city, polluting everybody on the advertisers and also people to appear on my show. That's what gives me the right. You want to hear it? Tell Odyssey and tell Beasley to stop talking shit on us, and I'll stop talking shit on you. Fair enough? How you doing? Okay? Stop talking shit on us, and me most notably, and I'll stop talking shit on you. That's what gives me the right. That's what gives me the right. Odyssey going around and pulling shit that I don't host the Jim Rome show, and you're covering for a guy who had 2 sexual harassment cases this year and Howard Eskin, and you're fucking telling me I'm a bad guy? No, that's my case. Sit down and take the rest of the day off, kid. Okay? You don't live here. Who gives a shit where I live? You affect my living when you do shit like that. Shit all over the internet because of Odyssey and Beasley. Fuck you. You want to tick me off? That ticks me off. What gives me the right? You don't know dick about me, Knight, or my situation. Don't talk to me like that. What gives me the right? Your football team's PR department going to NBC Philadelphia and telling people they can't come on my program? What, because I'm critical? Hey, kiss my ass. Happy New Year. You don't know shit. You come in here. What gives me the right? I just laid it out for you. I just laid it out for you. See these stupid articles written about JAKIB. I don't have a problem with them. Not one fucking problem, and nor have I ever. I don't know how they treat other people. I know how they treat me. I don't give a shit. And by the way, one of your radio stations has reached out to me a couple times already. Hey, man, the show's doing well. Thanks. Hey, call me when you have an offer. Don't call me to give me a reach around. Okay? I don't bite on that stuff. Fishing expeditions. Don't ask me anything about JAKIB. You got a job or you don't? 2 of your radio stations ask me how I'm doing. It's a fact. Do I believe them? No. Yeah, hey, Dan, we'd like to talk. Yeah, okay. Been in the business 34 years. You ain't fooling me. I know what you're doing. Oh, I see. You're going to try to hire me, yet you're in a conflict with Joe. Okay. Yeah, right. Hey, this is why I hear guy like Knight don't know dick about us. And this is why our community is growing and being one of the fastest growing. That you know what you guys have done? I got radio stations and I got networks reaching out to me now again, asking me about doing a show for them. And I absolutely say no. I got offered to go to Philly next month for like a lunch. And I said, I don't know. Don, I want to go to Philly for lunch. If I'm going there, I'm just going because you have something on the table. I'm not doing that. I'm beyond that. Okay? I'm beyond that. What, do you want to hear me? Well, there's plenty of tape. All right. How you doing on this wonderful New Year's Eve? We love you, Big Sills. Fuck them cowards. It can't stop JAKIB. It can't stop you, too. You don't want to hear something, man? Flexing gives me as much shit as anybody I've ever had on any of my shows over the years. And I love that guys like that. Okay? Sills ain't trying to leave shit. Are you kidding me? I'm building something. Joe Kraus said something to me the other day that I love. Well, we're kind of Teflon from all that other shit where we have to deal with corporate. Woo-hoo. You know why a guy like Barkley can make a comment about Jay-Z? Because TBS and Turner backs him. Yeah, that's me going to a radio company who doesn't back anybody but themselves. Yeah, now, how long do you think I'll last, Xander, at Odyssey if I ever went back and did something with them? I'd last a night. I would last a night if I ever went back to radio. I would last a night. Kidding me, man? All right. Vic and Kellen both spoke. We're going to talk a little bit about the record here and what they should do. Hey, man, what do you make of Eagle management making the decision on Barkley getting the record or not? Okay? Dan's not leaving anywhere. But later on today, I'm leaving and I'm going to go pick up like some champagne for me and my wife and my kid. That's where I'm probably going to pick up a cheap version of a champagne. Thanks. Hey, I'm picking up probably Asti Spumante. That used to be my grandfather's favorite. My grandfather didn't. So one day we got my grandfather a really classy. My aunt would go out and get him the best of everything. So would my uncle. Get him Dom Perignon and something like that. You know what my grandfather liked on New Year's Eve? Asti Spumante. $9.48. And he takes a little cube of sugar, drops it in, and that's his thing for the night. Asti Spumante. And I'm like, Dad, what are you doing drinking Asti Spumante? Betty Ann's bought you champagne. What are you doing here? Uncle Richard, too. And they're like, I like that shit. Asti. My grandfather get a case of Asti Spumante for $14. And you're like, Dad, you don't have to drink that shit. He used to get that stuff all the time. Okay? Yeah. Hey, I like that. I'll do. Okay, that sounds good. I got no problem with that. Okay? Are you kidding? Hey, not happening. My point was, they don't trust these people in media. I don't. You shouldn't either. And like I told you, I'm not a journalist. I run a show here. Hey, I do have some news, though. There's interest with the Lions and John Gruden taking over for Ben Johnson. I tweeted that out at Dan Sileo show to be the offensive coordinator in Detroit if he leaves. And Mike Vrabel has been reached out by the Chicago Bears for an interview to become the head football coach at the end of the season. I know both guys very well, and I confirmed it with both of them, that there's interest if Ben leaves and he takes Jacksonville or the Jets, what have you, that they have I'm not saying they'll hire him, but there's interest in John Gruden being the offensive coordinator in Detroit. I think John would last a year in Detroit, and then he would get a head coaching job somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if John Gruden gets a head coaching job in New Orleans. Okay, I would not be surprised. Mickey Loomis and the Benson family love John Gruden. But Mike Vrabel is going to be one of the hottest commodities in the offseason for a head coaching gig. And right now, Chicago is the front runner to land him. Some would say this, another defensive-minded guy, typical Chicago. The only other guy with experience that the Bears have ever hired, I believe, was John Fox. And no coach really has had any experience. I think Lovey had some experience, and so did Caldwell. But not really a team that likes to go out and hire guys with experience as head football coaches. The Wolf of Philadelphia media. I'm not fucking leaving. Twist is another asshole, but I don't know what it is. I think I could say this on my show. I love assholes. Sure. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. Hey, by the way, it's top 10 list day, too. Teams, quarterbacks, rookie of the year voting, which I have a vote in MVP. And, my early look at the Philadelphia Eagles versus what you're doing and what you're going to look at with this Giants team. So, again, if you're looking at this Giants team, Giants played pretty well last week. And we'll start off offensively with where you are right now with this New York Giants team. Look, I don't know what the Giants are going to do. I personally don't know what the New York Giants are going to do, okay? But what the Giants are going to try to do is stop him from getting that record. Make no mistake about it. They're going to do everything in their power to stop them from making that record versus them. Oh, my God. People, I don't know what it is with Cowboy fans. Cowboy fans are all over my ass right now because they know I can't stand Saquon, or not Saquon, but Micah Parsons, because I think he plays and does nothing. And now they're giving me PFF. Dude, Micah Parsons had an awful year this year. I don't give a shit what you think. Awful year. Let's take a look offensively at the New York Giants versus the Eagles. The Eagles come into this game. They're 6th ranked in total offense with 371-2. And the Giants come into this game, obviously, with so many holes on their football team. They're 29th. Passing, the Eagles, as we mentioned, are 30th in the NFL. This is hard to believe, guys. The Giants have a better passing game than the Philadelphia Eagles do. The New York Giants have a better passing game than the Eagles do. Unbelievable. The Eagles, 187.3, they're number 1 in rushing. And as I've told you before, they average more rushing yards, 187.3, than passing yards with 180 yards a game. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything like that with that unbalance that you have on your football team. It's unbelievable. Your passing game has been atrocious this year. There's no other way to say it. It's been atrocious. It's been actually one of the worst passing years for a contending team I've ever seen. Seals, look at the line of this game. Tells you everything you need to know about Nick playing the starters. Free McKee. Tanner Manning. Okay? Tanner Manning. God, I can't believe how bad the Eagles are in passing. It's unbelievable. The Giants enter the game. The Giants, all metrics are telling you right now where they're 22nd in passing. The Eagles are 7th in scoring. The Giants are 31st in scoring. Red zone. This is where the Eagles kind of not very good because of their passing game. They're 14th. They're 14th right now in red zone. 3rd down, the Giants are last. 3rd down, the Eagles are a little bit better. They've improved this number, actually. They're 9th. And the Giants, I mean, dude, look at the metrics on the Giants. They're just terrible in every single offensive category. And I heard that the New York media saying that they want to bring back, and they're steadfast in Joe Schoen, the GM, and Brian Dable. I get Brian Dable. But would you let Joe Schoen pick your quarterback? He's a guy that determined to give Daniel Jones $150 million. If you're John Mara, do you let that guy pick a quarterback for you? Do you let that guy pick your football? You're the next guy that you're going to give a shot at being the starting quarterback for your franchise? Is that the guy you want picking? That's not the guy I'm looking at that I would want picking for my football team. Okay? The defensive numbers have been exceptional for the Eagles. Eagles are giving up 280 yards in total offense. That's insane great. Okay? And they've allowed 32 touchdowns. Them and the Chiefs are the best at this. 32 touchdowns they've allowed this year. Okay? That's incredible. What a year. I tell you, I cannot believe the impact that Nick Sirianni or that Vic Fangio has had on this football team. It's been remarkable. The Giants, by the way, are 24th. They give up about 350. The Eagles are number one in pass defense. Get this. This is what makes this so insane. And what the job that Vic has done. Last year, you were 31st in pass defense. The year previous, under Gannon, you were second in pass defense. Now you're one. I mean, if that doesn't shed the light on how bad the coordinator hires were a year ago and the direction of the team, organizationally, you failed miserably a year ago, and you could really blame the front office on their decision-making on who to bring in on both sides of the football. The Eagle front office, and of course, player execution, has caused this. Now, the additions of Cooper DeJean, I'm going to make this point to you. I think the addition of Cooper DeJean after the bye has had more impact than Quinyon Mitchell. And I even kind of thought I heard Vic even reference that today. My takeaway is that Cooper DeJean has had more impact on your team than Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell has had a great year. And this is not who's a better ball player. This is who's had more impact. I think Cooper DeJean, when you put him in the starting lineup and put him in there for Avonte Maddox, it kind of changed the entire landscape of your defense. They didn't look that hot before the bye. They were 2-2. They put him in. Quinyon was starting. What was the one difference that they made from the bye defensively? What was the one difference? BG hadn't been hurt yet. It was Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean has been your rookie of the year defensively, not Quinyon Mitchell. Sills, but Quinyon Mitchell, people will go like this, has lined up against the best players that you have in an offense. Agreed. His job's harder. His job is no question hard. He's a corner. He's on an island. But the guy who made the impact and was a tone setter was DeJean. Free safeties and strong safeties are tone setters. John Lynch, Cam Chancellor, Ronnie Lott. Guys like that. Ed Reed. Ed Reed wasn't a corner, but he was a tone setter for the Ravens. He was a tone setter. Okay? He was a tone setter. You tell me what's been different. The one thing that they made a difference on was putting DeJean in the starting lineup after the bye. Right? Okay? Stills, we did have a problem when we had Trashbury out there last season. Well, I think a lot had to do with the fact that he played 1,500 reps and you didn't have any pressure last year, any pass rushing pressure, especially in the second half of the season. That's what makes what these guys are doing really good this year, because you're not that great a pass rushing team. You're okay. You get the job done, but you're not exceptional. Like, you don't have exceptional pass rushers. You had an exceptional pass rusher, but you're not exceptional at that. You're an all-around great defense. That doesn't mean, I mean, there's certain teams that have one particular skill set. Look at the Cowboys. Cowboys can rush the passer, can't play the run, and can't cover. Who would you rather be, Philly or Dallas's? Well, Dallas can get after the football. Look at their numbers. They're third in the NFL in third down efficiency when it comes to stopping third down. Okay, great. Where are they ranked total? Well, they're 30th. Well, fuck. I don't care if they get to the quarterback or not. That's irrelevant to me. They can't stop anybody, and people score at them at will. Okay? Yeah, okay. Well, what's his name says there's somebody in here that goes, well, losing BG didn't help. Yeah, okay. You lost a 37-year-old defensive end that was getting some pressure. In his last game, he was exceptional in. Yeah. But you don't have pass rushers. Nolan is coming on and playing well. But is somebody that I look at that I game plan against? No. I don't game plan against him. That's not a game-changing player. Not yet. Not yet. Okay? Not yet. My question with Brandon would have been, you think Brandon would have made it through the entire season playing the amount of reps he was playing at 36? I don't know. I can't sit here and say I know for a fact because I don't. But he was brought back to be a rotation guy, not a starter. He ended up having to be a starter because Huff sucks so bad. Okay? Flexing goes like this. Nolan can get there, and we'll see. What's he got, 6 sacks? That's not game-changing. You're talking about player development? Has he gotten better? Yeah. But game wrecker and game-changing player, not even in a remote conversation. You had a game-changing player. That's Brock Purdy in the Niners in the NFC title game. That's a game-wrecking, changing player. Okay? You don't have that in your pass rush. You're not that good. You're okay. You're effective. Okay? I wouldn't write home about your pass rushing. Okay? And by the way, Sills, how do you look at Nolan Smith? Do you see it? Yes. I mean, he's gone from being nobody to like there's something there. You see it. Will he be able to develop it and be a guy who can be consistent year in and year out like Hassan Reddick was? Prior to last year, there was only one other guy that had double-digit sacks 4 years in a row. You know who that was? Myles Garrett in Cleveland. So when you have a player that's a game-changing pass rusher, and let's not forget something about Reddick. The year he had in 22, he was number 1 in third down sacks. He was number 1 in tackles for losses, and he had 16.5 sacks. And if you put the sacks together for the playoffs, he had 18.5 sacks that year. I mean, fuck, man. You're talking about a game record. And he destroyed a quarterback in the NFC title game. That's a game-changing football player. You don't have that on your defense, except in the middle with Carter. There's no game-changing player on your defense. Now, Bond looks like he is. Okay? Bond should be talked about in the conversation of defensive rookie of the year. Or, defensive player of the year. Absolutely. But he kind of is being overshadowed by some of the other guys. I don't know how, if you're on the number 1 defense in the NFL, I don't know how you're not looked at in the light of being the defensive player of the year. He'll probably finish in the top 4, 5, but he ain't winning it. Okay? He's just not winning it. And should he be seriously considered? Yeah. Yes. But he won't win it. Look at Chris Jones and guys like that. Okay? They'll give it to Chris Jones before they give it to him. Chris Jones on a 15-1 football team. Okay? I mean, they'll look at somebody at Minnesota and go down that route. And they'll look at it through that sphere. Let me give you guys, because we have a we have a metric here. Okay, we have a metric here that I can look at that they give us for our voting when it comes to the defensive player of the year and where he sits right now. Keep talking, Seals. I don't want to hear shit when we win the bowl. Okay, great. Congratulations. Well, hey, wait a minute, Maverick. Congratulations for doing your fucking job. It's about time you won the Super Bowl again. One Super Bowl in 30 years under Jeffrey Lurie, you've underachieved. Congratulations. I guess. You won all these football games. You better win a Super Bowl, dude. I mean, Jesus criminy. Let me give you the track. Let me give you where we are here with this. I vote on the NFL honors. And I have to log in. And I look at where they are right now. Okay. Here we go. Here's the latest. This just came in 4 minutes ago. So here's the latest on the defensive player of the year. TJ Watt, Patrick Surtain, Andrew Van Ginkel, Myles Garrett, Will Anderson, Trey Hendrickson, Jalen Carter, Jonathan Greenard, Danielle Hunter, and Zach Bond. Zach Bond right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 10th in consideration. And personally, I think that Zach Bond's had a better year than Jalen Carter. Okay? Carter is right now, this just came in. Carter is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's 7th. 8, 9, 10. Zach's 11th. TJ Watt's going to win it. Surtain's the second best odds. And Van Ginkel, the kid that was in Miami that we wanted the Eagles to sign, is the third guy. Backtrack on what, dude? The fuck are you talking about? But I have no idea what he's talking about. None. We need Bond to keep his value low. Right? To keep his value low, right? Okay. I think Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter's going to make the All-Pro team. I do. Van Ginkel's been an absolute terror for Brian Flores. Okay? It's Super Bowl or bust. Does anything happen if Washington or Green Bay bounces us in the wild card round? This team is too good not to at least get to the NFC title game. Minnesota, Detroit, one of them will get screwed because one gets bye and we get the quasi-bye because you're going to create that. Yes. If you get bounced in the opening round, it'd be a disaster. I don't know how changes won't be made. Nick won't be the one going, though. Because of what Nick has done this year, Nick Sirianni saved his job. Unless he does something Nick Sirianni like in the playoffs, he's not getting fired. They'll fire coordinators again if something happens. And it won't be Vic. It'll be Kellen. Kellen is the sacrificial lamb right now. It won't be Stoutland. Okay? It won't be Nussmeier. Won't be him. Kellen Moore is the sacrificial lamb being set up right now because he's got one knock against him. He never improved the passing game. They get bounced. He's the guy. The front office has their turkey, and they're just waiting to see how this thing plays out. Kellen Moore is the sacrificial lamb here. Nick won't be. You're not firing a guy with 4 playoff appearances, one of the best winning percentages in history, not accomplishing the deal. They're going to look at it as an assistant coach issue. They're not going to look at it as a player issue. You get this. The front office takes no accountability in the fact the passing game is blown this year. They'll come up with all kinds of different reasons telling you why. Jalen has been just as effective in the passing game and lie to you to your freaking teeth by making it look like Jalen Hurts had a good year. He didn't. His team won. I know. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks carried to the finish. Jalen Hurts was carried to the finish line this year. He didn't carry them. Barkley did. That's the Barkley train in 24. That's not the Hurts train. And he doesn't even share it with him. Okay? I mean, Jalen's the caboose. Saquon this year is the engine. He's the guy in conversation right now for the MVP award. Here, let me do that. If I had to pick an MVP with my vote, here's where I'm at. I got one more week to go. Then I have to turn it in that Tuesday. We're coming down here. Number 10, I got Baker Mayfield. Number 9, I got Derrick Henry. Number 8, I got Justin Herbert. Number 7, I got Patrick Mahomes. Number 6, I got Sam Darnold. Number 5, I have Jared Goff. Number 4, I have Joe Burrow. Number 3, I have Saquon Barkley. Now, here's the rub here. I think it's a tie heading into the final week. Okay? I think it's a tie between Lamar and Allen. Okay? Because, and I'm going to tell you where I'm at right now with this. If Jared Goff wins home field advantage, and they have the best record in the NFC, does he propel himself up to go to number 1? I mean, I think these are all close. If Burrow gets that Bengals team this weekend into the playoffs, he's got to be considered the most valuable player. Without Joe Burrow, the Bengals are the number 1 overall pick. Lamar, in my opinion, has had there's only 2 players in the game this year, statistically, that have had years that you could make an argument with. Let's not just go with wins. Let's go with numbers. It's Barkley and Lamar that have had, it's really nobody else. Joe Burrow. Those 3 guys have had the statistical year. Burrow's hampered by the record. Barkley isn't. And Lamar has lost some games. I like Xander's take yesterday. Xander said this. He goes, when I look at Lamar, man, he looked out of wits at time in the Eagle game. He did. There were times you were going like this. Where is he going? Triple coverage? Do you see it? Okay? Yes. Denny, I could see this. Co-MVPs. They've had them before. I could see Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson tying for that award this year. Allen has nobody. Okay? There's nobody in that conversation, even like Zay Flowers. Now, I mean, you've got Mark Andrews and you've got Derrick Henry in in Baltimore. And you have Zay. You have Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and you have Derrick Henry. He has none of that. The kid Bush is decent, but there's really nothing up there. Okay? There's nothing up there. That's right. McNair and Peyton Manning shared the MVP one year. That could happen. Lamar Jackson has had a freaking unbelievable season. Unbelievable. Okay? Josh Allen has had an unbelievable year. Barkley has had an historic year. I'll say this to you, man. Let me ask you something here. And do me a favor, Jalenites. Hey, Pumper, help me out on this. Shouldn't Barkley be a slam dunk MVP this year? And here's why. Who's got the number one passing offense in the NFL this year? Who's got the number one overall offense? The Ravens do. So the Ravens have the number one total offensive football team. Passing, they're sixth. Rushing, they're second. Okay. The Eagle passing game is 30th. Without Barkley, the Eagles are 2023. Without Saquon Barkley, you're not winning all these games. You would have looked like a year ago. Because the passing game was not a factor as much as it's been in the past. Doesn't that give more credence to Barkley's year? I'm not shitting on Jalen. I'm talking about making a case for Barkley. Okay? No. This is not about Jalen. I'm talking about making more of a case for Barkley to be the MVP. Doesn't this make it more that he's more valuable to his team? That's right, Neil. It's context for Barkley. This is a Barkley conversation. Okay? I'm not talking, may God almighty, the Jalenites won't stop. You just will not fucking give anybody else kudos in that huddle. You refuse to. Holy cow. You can't even make an argument for your own freaking guy. We won 11 games without a defense last year. Great, congratulations. You got bounced by the Bucs. I mean, you can't even give the guy in your own huddle who had a historic year conversation for the MVP award. This hurts it. No wonder he's not up for the conversation. No wonder. You won't give Barkley his total due. Saquon Barkley. Hey, is Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen the most important players on their teams? Yes. Is Barkley? Yes. Well, there you're. Burrow? Yes. Is Goff? Probably not. Maybe yes. Why was Jalen Hurts not present for the locker room celebration? Not a leader. He's a weird guy. I'm a pumper. I'm not going there. He's just a weird dude. You know, he hadn't been involved in that game. And if I guess he's not involved in that game, you know, once again, dude, I've heard him make comments that congratulations. He went right up to him and congratulated him on that historic becoming the ninth player to be part of the 2K group. So I'm not going there, pumper. Oh, I can't dispute it. Okay. Guys, give me a total on the likes right now. I appreciate you guys coming aboard. Thank you so much. And by the way, Pumper, I don't know what the protocol is when it comes to being in the concussion protocol and what your accessibility is to the sidelines or like being involved around in the locker room and such. I don't know what that is. It's a good question. Thank you very much, Flexen. Guys, let's see if we can get that up to 200 if we can. Because we're cutting the show short an hour today, 5 o'clock Eastern time. By the way, don't forget Merrill Reese is going to join us at 4:30. Yeah, so I don't know what the protocol is. Okay. I don't care what y'all talking about. I just want to win a Super Bowl again. I don't care how it happens. That's what you're doing, Kennedy. That's what you're doing. Because right now, you're doing it one way. And you're doing it. You've won a ton of games doing it this way. Okay? No. This is why, Kennedy, if you don't win the Super Bowl, there's going to be questions. And why your star players weren't utilized this year. And some are going to go, well, Sills, they were hurt. Well, I make the point, and I'm going to stick to the point, that I think this style of play is taking its toll health-wise on your football team. There's been a bunch of guys injured this year. Now, is that coincidence? Is that just sometimes the way the injury bug goes? Yes. Look at San Francisco. Because you could turn around and say this to me. Kennedy, you could turn around and say this. Well, Sills, do you think the style of play hurt San Francisco? Yeah, I do. San Francisco's a physical football team. They run the ball. That's why McCaffrey's out. And when McCaffrey went out, they couldn't run the ball. You see what they were doing last night with Deebo Samuel? They were running him on jet sweeps because they weren't getting enough in the run game to help the play action go. Play action was a significant part of that a year ago for San Francisco, and maybe even 2 years. Personally, you know what I think San Francisco's window was? Hey, Niner all day. You know, personally, where I think your window was to win the Super Bowl wasn't last year. It was the year before when the Eagles beat you in the NFC title game and Purdy went out. I thought that was your window because I thought that was your better team. Okay? I thought that was your better team. Hey, by the way, I don't usually like to give Gators love. Kudos to Ricky Pearsall, dude. This guy was almost blown away at the beginning of the season. This guy took a bullet. And what do you have, 190 yards last night, 17 catches? Kudos to him, man. That was cool. I'm glad to see that. Player rebound from that. This guy was shot earlier in the year. And you can make – I will give you 1,000% certainty that Deebo Samuel will not be on that football team next year because they got to sign Purdy to that contract in the offseason. I disagree with Mr. Pumper. I want Jalen resting so he's ready for the playoffs. Yeah, because quite frankly, like I told Xander yesterday, if you had a rhythm quarterback that threw the ball, I'd be concerned. But he's not. He's a running quarterback. What rhythm do you think he has to have? He hasn't had rhythm all year. What would you think he would have rhythm? Guy misses more wide open people than any quarterback. That's a top line guy I've ever seen. And, hey, they win because of his running ability. And now with Barkley, they're unstoppable as a running tandem. There's no doubt. And Jalen is good enough in the passing game to get it done. He totally is. Let me ask you this. You think Jalen Hurts would be the same player if you had lesser talent at the wide receiver position than you do now? Like if you did what they did in Buffalo and in Kansas City, and you took A.J. Brown and put Juju Smith-Schuster, and you put here, I'm trying to think. Amari Cooper. You put Juju Smith-Schuster in the huddle and Amari Cooper. You think Jalen can move the ball that way? I don't. I do not. I do not. That's what those other guys deal with. Okay? And when he did have guys like that, it was his first year starting. Now, I'm not going to go and kill a kid for his first year starting because that's kind of the low bar a guy's rookie year unless you're Jaden Daniels. Hey, James Jones. Isn't it funny that the guy in Washington made the number 3 wide receiver in Washington look like a true number 2? And Jalen couldn't make a first-round pick in Jahan Dotson look like a number 1 drafted receiver and made him a non-factor this year. Got 12 catches. The kid you had in Philly last year had 12 catches the last 2 weeks. And they made him a number 2. Shit, I still think he's the number 3 guy up there. Hey, James. Is that Harris? Is that his name? Olamide? Is he a number 2 or number 3 up there? I don't know because I can't tell because Daniel spreads the ball around. Hold on here. This guy's telling me it's a lie that Jahan Dotson is fucking a non-factor this year. And the guy that you had a year ago is more of a factor who beat you 2 weeks ago and had a great game 2 weeks ago. He's saying I'm lying. He's saying that's a lie. You cut the guy. Let's take a look at this. Okay? Let's take a look at this and what that kid has done since he's been with Jaden Daniels. Let's look at this. This guy's the number 3 wide receiver. The number 3 wide receiver on the football team. He's got 43 catches for 455 yards. The guy you whacked. And he's projected to have nearly 500 yards receiving this year and 46 catches with 4 touchdowns. As the number 3 receiver in Washington. And the number 3 receiver in Washington, he gave a 3rd rounder up for, has 12 catches. You turn that guy, actually, you've gone from Quez Watkins to non-factor players. You basically play with 10 guys in a huddle, which makes your record incredible. Okay? More to do with the quarterback than the wide receiver? That's what I'm saying. Daniels is better. Spreading the ball around. Absolutely. And by the way, when you look at the numbers in Washington, Zach Ertz is second with 6'10". And Terry McLaurin. By the way, you want to hear something even more remarkable? The number 1 leading rusher in Washington is the quarterback at 864 yards, and he's passing it at 35-30. He's got 25 touchdown passes with 9 picks. And the running back, you got Brian Robinson. Terry McLaurin's a great player. You got an over-the-hill Zach Ertz. You got a guy the Eagles cut, and you got Noah Brown. Wow. Every single the indictment on Hurts in the passing game is you get nothing out of your tight end and you get nothing out of wide receiver 3. Okay? Dalen doesn't use wide receiver 3, so it's irrelevant. Okay. Then why'd you trade a 3rd rounder for him? How could that be true, Matt? The guy's the 3rd rounder. So teams have given up a 1 and a 3 for him. Okay. I don't know the logic there to that, but okay. The guy's irrelevant? Sure is. It's because the quarterback made him irrelevant. Absolutely. Dual threat. Dual threat. Let me see how many yards Dotson has. I haven't even looked. I don't know. Let's see what your boy Jahan Dotson. Let's see where he's at. He's got 12 catches for 122 yards in 16 ball games. Oh my. Holy shit. Are you kidding me? Let me see what Kansas City did with DeAndre Hopkins. And you got to remember something about Hopkins. They only gave up a 5th rounder for him. Let's see where Hopkins is. Hopkins got 41 catches for 437 yards. He's the number 3 receiver. Hey, you want to hear something crazy? Once again, the Kansas City Chiefs are not going to have a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver on the team, and they're 15. They're going to be 16-1. They're going to be 16-1, and they don't have anybody. Man, is that kid great? Kansas City. How about this one more time? Kansas City's not going to have a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver, and they're going to be 16-1. Hey, I know their D's good, and I get it, but shit. Dude, Olamide! What happened there, man? Holy shit, Olamide, man. Good grief almighty. Man, big game. So do you want – this was a great topic by Xander. I usually don't take topics from, but since he's turned out to be decent, he's turning out to be great, actually. And I'm glad. It's been an upgrade. Yeah. Woo! Hey, how's Bama? Before I bring this guy's ass on, how's Bama doing? Did they get the win? I hate that head coach they have. Okay, I want him to go get Dabo. Go get Dabo Sweeney. Bring his ass in. Or if you want to do me another favor, you can do this. If you want to overpay to go get Sark, go get him. And bring his ass in. But wait a minute. Forget that because Texas has way too much money. That ain't happened. Still, look at him. Olive Zucchini. JD5 is making him look like Wes Welker. I know. Where the guy was on the team. You whacked him. This guy's like beating people now. What a great-looking player. Xander and I both liked him. All right. Without further ado, hey, man, what are they, 14-3 now, the Eagles? Woo! Man, that football team, 13-3, man. Wow, that football team got a big decision to make. Oh, but wait a minute. Xander said something earlier that I have to give him kudos for. Sills, the front office is going to make a decision on whether or not to go for the record. You hear Nikki today on WIP? Yeah, we're going to ask the parking attendant. We're going to ask everybody at the Slurpee machine. Then we're going to ask the players, hey, do you guys want to go for the record? And you know what Xander said yesterday? You know where this is going to come from. Yeah, because then Nick's got to crawl in on his knees to Jeffrey Lurie's office and go, so what do you guys want to do? You guys want to get the record or no? But the players want to get it. Yeah, I don't care what the players want. This is what we're going to do. Yeah, okay. Then he waddles out of there, on his knees, gets back up and walks out and pretends he's a head coach again. Xander's right. Without further ado, the man that broke it gave us a great topic on Shane Steichen. I loved it. Okay? Sills, grow your... all right. How you doing, Anthony? Without further ado, the co-host of Birds 365, who on that show, John McMullen says players don't give a shit about legacy and records. The great Xander Kraus. How you doing, big brother? Happy New Year.
What's up, Big Sills? How you living, brother? Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everyone stays safe tonight and has a good night.
How's your Bama team doing?
They lost. Look at it. Look at this asshole.
No way.
Xander rolled tide. Now fuck you, Nick. They lost 19-30. One of the ugliest football games I ever watched. I'm thinking, Sills, I got a day of work. I can sit in. I can produce Sileo. I got the TV on in the office. I'll enjoy some Alabama football while I work today. Yeah, well, what a stinker that was. I mean, that was.
You know what happened? Bad. Can I tell you what happened there to you guys? Listen, here's what happened. Nick ain't there with the bullwhip, getting those guys ready for a game that doesn't matter. How many of those players do you think have been in games that never mattered?
5. I know. You're right. Is it too early for me to be out on him? I can't be out on the coach yet, can I?
Yeah, you can.
All right, because I'm out on him.
You got a standard. Don't you have a standard? That ain't it. Losing to Vandy.
Yeah.
That's not a standard.
Vandy. Now we lost to Oklahoma. Vandy.
A 6-6 Oklahoma team you lost to?
Yeah, we lost to them. Vanderbilt, we just lost to shitty Michigan, 19-13. I mean, we stink, dude.
Wow, man. Dude,
Team stinks.
Hey, I thought my shit was bad. Okay, I got a text earlier, man, when they said, hey, they fired Guidry, that D coordinator. I'm like, you had to, man. The guy's blows. I wonder if they'll give that to Jason Taylor, the Hall of Fame defensive lineman, make him D coordinator. I suggested that to him. We'll see what happens. I mean, Mario will probably bring somebody else in here. But anyway, hey, dude, would you come up with that topic? Tell the folks, man, prior to the program, because I agree with you. You talk about a guy who's not lucid as an owner and a guy who is kind of weird as an owner. Pat McAfee went knee deep in on the Colts and their culture. And then what does Shane do? He turns around and makes an asshole comment when he goes like this. Could you believe when he goes, Pat goes, people are late to meetings, they're late to treatment, they're late to good people don't do that. You know what Shane's comment was? Well, not everybody's on time. You're like, bro, that ain't the answer you're looking for if you're an owner or a guy to lead your group. That's not the answer you're looking for. Either don't answer it, but don't give that. There's no doubt, man. And then get this, from what I'm understanding from Pat and them guys, you want to hear what Anthony Richardson does? He practices when he wants to, and if he doesn't feel like it, they don't practice him. And then on top of that, when he put his hand up because he was too tired in the game after going through a couple series, he pulled himself out of a game. They're accepting that behavior. I'm shocked with Shane. That Shane, the owner must really like Anthony Richardson.
Shane Steichen is a great coordinator.
Yep.
Being a head coach is a different game. It's a different ball game. And
Absolutely.
I'll tell you this, I'm impressed with Ben Johnson and what he does in Detroit. I'm on the same watch for him next year when he takes a head coaching gig. He's one of those guys that I think he's a great second fiddle. He's a great coordinator right now, probably the best offensive coordinator in the league. But you get your head coaching gig, it's a different story. And I don't think Shane right now is handling that very well. But look, I don't want to kill him. I just think he's going to get fired because also you got to factor in that owner, right, Sileo, where he's functional. But I like the idea of Shane, man. I like him. I like the idea of Shane coming back here. And somebody mentioned it to me on the blanking on who it was, but on the post game show, and I forget, we were giving the update on the games, and I'm like, yeah, Colts got destroyed today by the Giants, and he's like, yeah, Shane's coming back, and I'm like, oh man, that's where I got it from, and I thought about it, and I'm like, I'm watching that game last night, and I'm like, man, I think certain guys are really meant to be a coordinator in this league. You know, they just shouldn't take the jump. They should. Frank Reich's a great example of it. You know, Vic Fangio, great example of it. Right? Jeff Stoutland is a great example of it at a lesser level as a position coach. He could have been a coordinator probably how many times in his career? He said, no, this is what I want to do. Kingsbury, another good one, Brian. So I'm going to watch that with Ben, but that's where I think Shane is, man. I don't think he's a very good head coach right now, and I'd like to see him back here in Philly. I think that'd be a good match. Because I don't think Kellen's done a good job.
No, he hasn't.
No, I don't think Kellen's
but to your point, and to Gary Cobb's point, it's a nothing burger right now until, like Jalen says, nothing's nothing until something becomes something.
Exactly.
And this is what this thing is here. How about Frank Reich? Would you consider, because of the relationship that the organization has? Now, again, I don't think Frank would be a great fit for him, but did he not run the RPO with Nick Foles?
Yeah, but this is a different style here. The reason I like Shane is because we've seen it. I mean, he's worked with Jalen. You know, there's no element of surprise there. They're coming back, and it'll be easier to bridge that. Now, listen, to be completely blunt, I don't think this is happening because I don't think they're firing Kellen Moore after going 13-3. Unless they decided to do something like they did last year with the Desai, and they just don't think he's getting the job done. I don't think that's the case, but I don't think he's going anywhere. So I will put that preface in here, is that I don't think Kellen's going anywhere, but I like Shane. I like Shane as a matchup with Jalen Hurts.
If Carson Wentz had 2,903 passing yards and 18 touchdowns, would he be getting killed by the Philly media right now?
He'd be getting crushed, man. He'd be getting crushed. He threw for 4,000 with Travis Fulgham got crushed. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right.
You know?
Okay, think about that. I mean, why, again, the passing game right now in Philadelphia, there's even going into the offseason here, let's just take a look even after the regular season. It's a conversation, Xander. They've got to do something more appropriate because guess why? Look, why have the assets if you're not going to use them? And by the way, don't you think that kid up in Washington kind of proves the point that Jalen couldn't make that guy look good? And there you have Jaden Daniels making that guy look like a number 2. That guy was on your football team. You brought a guy in here, wasted a 3rd rounder, and he's got 12 catches for 100 yards. And he played every game.
Yeah, he stinks. He absolutely stinks. This is the greatest analogy for Kellen Moore. Where is it? Abe just put it in. He said he was given a Ferrari. Kellen gifted a Ferrari, and he did nothing with it. He didn't crash it. So it's like, should I be happy that my coach didn't crash my Ferrari?
No,
or my driver didn't crash my Ferrari? Shouldn't you want a driver that gets the most out of your Ferrari? That's what I would want. That's what we should want. So, Kellen, look, I'm not upset with where we are. We're obviously winning a lot of football games, clinch the NFC East, going to be the 2nd seed in the NFC. I think the team is in a good spot, but the passing offense stinks. So, I think it's something to consider going into next year but we got to see how the year plays out. I mean, so if they march their way to the Super Bowl, I mean, what we're talking about is stupid to have this conversation on December 31st.
Yeah, but I don't think I don't think that's sustainable to think that Saquon Barkley is going to go for $2,000 next year.
No, he's not. He's not.
Okay.
He's not. But you'll have another year with Kellen, you got, I guess, at that point.
Okay.
Because you're not going to fire him, right? I mean, if that
I don't think so. I don't think so. Depending if they get bounced in the opening round.
I mean, I'll give you a bright spot. Can't get worse next year.
No.
31st.
No.
I mean, you literally can't get worse in passing.
No, it can't. And I agree with people and you on this one. Hey, Sills, about giving them a year and another year together. Don't you think that would be a little bit better? They would know one another more and you could tailor an offense around them a little bit better? Yeah, sure. Probably think so. But once again, this comes down to me with his ability to do it. And I don't think he has it.
Yeah,
I think that he is okay as a passer. He's brilliant as an all-around player, but I don't think he's ever going to be a guy you're going to count on to go week to week if you had to win ball games to win you a Super Bowl throwing the ball. I just don't think. And they knew that his ability to run the ball the way he did was not going to be sustainable. So what'd they do? They went out and got Barkley. I mean, Jalen Hurts is not going to last running the ball 180 times a year and throwing the ball 390 times a year. That wasn't going to last.
Right.
It's just not going to. And by the way, would we not agree that since the 22 season, he's really regressed as a passer?
He certainly hasn't improved as a passer. So I guess yes, that's a nice way of saying he has regressed, right?
And how do you constitute the wins?
Well, they got a great team. I mean, listen, I'm an Eagles fan before I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. I've always that's always going to be true. By the way, I found a hilarious video today of me. Must have been 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was 2020. It was recorded 2 weeks into the season. And I'm recording a video that I didn't post anywhere, but I got a camera for Christmas. This was back at the very beginning of before I got into content, but I knew I wanted to somewhat get into this route. And I took a video of me in my Eagles hat, and I'm like, it's time to fucking bench Carson Wentz. He fucking stinks. I'm calling for Jalen Hurts. I might post it up on the channel. It's so funny.
That's good, man. That's good. Go back finding that. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Jalen's winning too much right now to make any sort of click or anything. But what do you attribute the wins to then? If it's not the quarterback, it's got to be the roster.
Howie.
I'll tell you what's kind of weird too.
Howie.
No, I'll tell you what's kind of weird is that in Philly and even nationally, everybody gives Jalen credit for the wins, right? They always talk about like his record and everything like that. But like you talk about Detroit, you never hear Jared Goff. You hear what a great team, what a great offense. And I'm guilty of it too, but I'm watching that game last night. I'm like, this dude makes the right
in a game that didn't matter.
He makes the right. What a great! You missed it. I mean, I know you said
I said I watched a little, not a lot. I didn't watch it all. No.
Man, I was glued. I literally watched every play of that game. I was so locked in. It was such a good football game. And I'm like, well, the defense sucked in the game, but the offenses were just incredible. And I'm like, Jared Goff made throw after throw after throw. The right read, the right throw, on the money, accurate, on time, time after time again. And I'm like, this guy should be an MVP candidate. His team is 14-2. He should be an MVP candidate. But there it's all team, which is fine. But Philly, it's Jalen gets a lot of credit for it, and the team is great. I'm not trying to take away from Jalen, but our team is great, man. Our team is freaking exceptional.
Don't you think that Jared Goff has gone there and changed the culture around? Where were they before?
Yeah, well, I think Dan Campbell's a bigger proponent of that, but
okay.
I love Dan Campbell. I love him. I don't care if Eagle fans get mad at me.
Golf not getting any love.
What's that?
Golf not getting any love.
No, he deserves some love.
14 years.
But I mean, don't you agree that the kind of coach that Campbell is, he has such a persona and an aura, and he's such a kind of an alpha figure that he would be the one that would flip that more than Jared Goff. He's more of a subdued guy. But I think the success that Jared Goff is having is a big influence. And I'm a massive Campbell guy, so I just like him. That's the kind of coach I'd want to play for. If I played football, that's the kind of coach I'd want to play for. I'd want to play for a mean motherfucker. That gives it to me straight, that wears his emotions on his sleeve, that cares about his guys. That's what I like. I'm not saying Nick doesn't have that, but he has it in a different way. He's a little softer. He's a little bit, I don't know. He's just not my kind of dude. I don't know. I just don't like. It's not my style. It's not what I would pick for my squad.
I want to show you something here. That since November 6th of 2021, the Detroit Lions are 30-9. And the first year they were 3-10, or 3-10-1. Or when Golf was there, he only played 14 games that year.
Yeah,
but I think there were 16, so he missed 2. So they didn't have a very good season that year. But since that point, in November, the middle of the year in 21, they're 30-9 in the regular season.
Yeah, they're good too. I tell you what, if we play them, I'm not saying we can't match up. But, there's a lot of people like, oh, the Eagles have the number 1 defense, and we're going to be able to slow Detroit down. Well, the 49ers have the number 2 defense in the NFL. They're the number 3 pass defense in the NFL, and they're top 10 in rushing too. So the 49ers defense is no Swiss cheese. It's no Limburg cheese defense. I mean, they're not having their best year.
Purdy was great last night.
And that's it. That's the type of offense that will pick apart, I think, a zone-based defense. I mean, Jared Goff just sits there. They get Amon-Ra St. Brown. That dude is so good at finding space on the field. So good. That's why they convert so many 4th downs. I'm telling you. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets out. He finds the space. Goff gets the ball out in 2 seconds. It's effortless. It's easy. And you're going to have to score a lot of points if we play the Lions. I don't care about that defense. I know their defense stinks. It does. It's not great. They still have playmakers. They got Kirby Joseph, who's up to 9 picks this year. They got Brian Branch. They still got DJ Reader on the line. That Jack Campbell's actually a pretty good linebacker in the middle. And Teron Arnold's obviously still a pretty good man player. But that defense is beaten up. But you're going to have to score a lot, man, to compete with that.
I think Karen Klein's a really good coordinator.
He's not. Yeah, I mean, he was doing really good until they had all those injuries. It's hard to knock the Detroit defense at this point, but because of all the injuries. But even then, look, here's what people don't understand about the Detroit. They're like, oh, the defense sucks. The defense does suck. But the defense also made 2 plays. They got burnt on almost every drive last night. They made 2 plays. And that was all Detroit's offense needed to put the game away. You get me 2 turnovers, we capitalize on it. The other team's never going to have a chance. Now, I will say, this is, in my opinion, this is my best way to beat the Detroit Lions this year. 6-yard runs.
Yeah.
Down the whole field.
That's right.
And kill the clock. You need 10, 11-minute drives, because if you can limit how many drives their offense gets, then now you're buying points back in the game. And you can get close. That margin of error is going to continue to shrink if you're able to do that.
Let me tell you, this is going to sound crazy, but I think the better matchup in the NFC title game is Detroit than Minnesota.
Better matchup for the Eagles?
Yep. Because I'll tell you why Minnesota can throw it and run it, and they play outstanding defense, and they have one of the top units in the game. The Lions don't have one of the top units because the Lions struggle at the run. Dude, the Vikings have
I'm
given
sorry,
up.
but I'd rather play the Vikings.
Dude, the Vikings have a better defense.
I know, but in this game, you need to be able versus the Vikings. I think we'll create more stops on defense till you could get into a 24-20 game or a 27-20. If you play Detroit, mark my words, number one defense in the NFL. I love it too. They will score 30 plus points on us. They will score 30 plus on us.
I think Addison and Jefferson are compatible, man. They're great. Look, dude, you're missing it.
Who do you trust more? Who do you trust more?
That's my problem.
Or Goff?
True.
And then the next question would be, who do you like more, O'Connell or Ben Johnson? I'm taking the Lions guys on both of them. I like O'Connell, but Ben Johnson's a really good.
I'll tell you what. Who do you like, Brian Flores or Aaron Glenn?
Brian Flores, probably. Well, if I'm going up against the matchup, I'd rather match up against Glenn because that the defense is depleted. Okay. Brian Flores, I think, will have Jalen's number. But again, my point is, if you go up against Detroit, if we go up against the Vikings, I think we can get away with scoring 24 points. The
ball on that Lions offense, the Lions defense. I don't know if you can
I hear you. I think you're right, but you're missing what I'm saying. I think we can win a game versus the Vikings by putting 24 points on the board, accounting for the fact that Brian Flores is going to take us out of some drives. If you go up against the Lions, you're going to have to score a lot of freaking points.
You're underestimating Darnold, though, right? That's because you're underestimating Darnold and what he's done this year.
No, I'm questioning the Eagles' offense. This is what I'm really doing.
Well, like I said, if there's going to be a defense in the postseason that scares me the most, there's two: the Bucs and the Vikings. Yeah, and those two coordinators are pretty compatible with one another, and Todd Bowles and Brian Flores. Those two guys are exceptional.
I know, but
if you think the Eagles one-dimensional, you can beat them.
But I feel my point with it is that I feel better about our defense getting stops on the Vikings more so than I do on the Lions.
Who's covering Jefferson?
Well, I guess you're going to sit in that zone. You're probably going to sit too high all game.
You're going to sit too high zone on Jefferson and Addison.
They're going to work you
underneath the whole day.
Well, it's the Fangio formula, Ben, but don't break. Give them between the 20s and don't let them get into the end zone. I mean, you get into the end zone, it's a different style, and they've been pretty good in the red zone. Not great this year, but they've been pretty good. My fear with the lot, like I said, I don't fear the Vikings as much because I think we can win a 27-20 game or a 27-24 game.
They're an overall better football team than Detroit in the fact that they're more at the beginning of the year with Aiden Hutchinson and their full group, Lions are better. And by the way, I picked the Lions to win a Super Bowl. I hear you, but I think they've sustained a lot of losses on that side, Xander. On the defense, for them to be able to line up against Philadelphia and go like this, we're going to stymie that run game. Well, I'm not sure about that.
Well, okay, and they got more guys coming back. Detroit's got some guys coming back too.
You hear Richardson saying that he wants to try to come back for the Super
Bowl. I'm not worried about him. I think Anzalone's though is going to be back. He'll be back for round one. So they're gonna add some of those guys back. And like I said, they got a lot of injuries, but man, they still have playmakers, dude, that are healthy. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph has 9 interceptions this year, dude. He had 2 left.
That's right. Hey, Vikings are healthier also.
I know, but that Detroit.
Dude, I know. No. Dude. Jared Goff.
Let me give you a stat. All right. I just want to give you a stat. All right. By the way, Pumper won our jersey. How funny is that? Brian Pumper won our Saquon jersey. Oh, Brian, was that you that emailed me? Brian, I don't want to be duped by a potential Jalenite, as you would call them. All right. So make sure you put in the chat if that's you that emailed me. I did get the email. So just make sure it's you. Just want to make sure it's you, and then I'll get your info, send you out your jersey. All right. Here's a stat, Sills. I got a couple stats, all right, on this Lions offense, because this team's going to score 30 on us. I'm telling you right now. They are the first team in NFL history to have 2 running backs go over 1,000 and 2 wide receivers over 1,000. That's 4,000-yard guys on that offense, all right? And remember, they're without David Montgomery right now. Jahmyr Gibbs looked like he didn't miss a beat last night, all right? The Lions offense, they have a single game of less than 20 points. They have 2 games of 50 plus, 6 games of 40 plus, 6 games of 40 plus, 9 games of 30 plus, and 15 games of 20 plus. And they have a 200-point differential this year. 200-point differential.
I have another stat for you here on the Lions too. I think they're the first team with, here it is. The Lions in 5 games this year have 40 points with 0 turnovers in those games. They're the first team in NFL history to do that. I mean, hey, dude, that's a pretty proficient and electric offense, to say the least.
My fears with that are really based on the passing game, because how can you keep up? How are you going to keep up with 35 points? That's why I feel better about
it out with them.
If you do, they're going to score, and they're going to
score. You can't lose field positions. Okay? You can't. All right, guys, don't forget, we're going to read all the supers here in a second. Xander, what a call by you. So I heard Nick today on WIP, and Nicky, boy, I'll tell you, man, sometimes he takes the fly and he unzips it. Yeah, man, we're going to get the players' takes. We're going to get the janitors' takes. We're going to get the Slurpee machine guys' takes. We're going to get fucking the parking lot attendants' takes. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk to my dad's office, and then I'm going to go in there and ask my father, Jeffrey Lurie, and his son, Howie Roseman, his adopted son, and his real son, Julian, what do you guys want to do? Can you imagine this? Hey, the players want it.
Nick ain't making that
players
decision.
Want it. And get this, you know what the owner's going to say? I don't fucking care what the players want. I'm telling you what we're going to do here, son. And then he's going to walk back down to his locker room, and he's going to tell everybody, this is my decision. Okay? You're right. This is going to come down from the front office on whether or not they want to go after that record. And I'm going to make a point to you here. I think Howie's going to petition to have the guy get the record. You know why? Because he will be looking like a superstar, bringing a guy with the record of 2105, and he could put that on his resume and say, everyone thought Barkley. John McMullen and I even said it. This guy's not going to be what you think. And he's been more than what we said. 10 times we were, dude, the worst takes of the year is that he was going to be an okay guy because of all the shit that he didn't do in New York. Instead, he's going to probably finish third in the MVP, maybe probably third in the MVP, could be fourth, depending on what happens with Burrow. But, dude, man, I think Howie wants that record too. Wouldn't you think that just the way he has acted and the way he's performed as your GM the last decade, that'd be something he would want?
Potentially. I mean, I guess. I don't think they're going to, but we'll see. I mean, maybe they will end up playing him. I think it would make for a better game, obviously, but I don't know. I go back and forth on this because when I talk to John, he explains it and he's like, yeah, this is why they're going to do this and this is what they're going to do. And I'm like, all right, it makes sense. You want your guys healthy for playoffs. And then I think about it and I'm like, you got a shot to make history. Fucking go make history. It's football. What do it's football. Like, what you can't.
I hate that attitude. Well, I want to be healthy. Go fucking play a game. Go play a football game. Jesus Christ, these are not China porcelain dolls. Go play a fucking football game, dude. You could get hurt. How many times this week or this year has AJ been injured in practice? 3? I mean, hey, Nakobe was injured in practice. I mean, you've had a ton of guys injured in practice. Okay? Go play a fucking game. Holy shit. Stop making these guys sound like they're 10-year-olds, man. These are professional football players. Go play a fucking game. Let's go.
They're making the script like they want them to play that. They put Tiki Barber. I see Buckhalter said they put Tiki Barber on the call. You remember when he said, Saquon, you're dead to me? And then the Eagles announced they're wearing all black. I'm like, what the fuck are they trying to? They're trying to create a little anticipation here. So.
They've made up. I've heard Boomer say that Tiki's reached out to Saquon and they've kind of buried the hatchet, and that it just got the emotion of him because again, you got to remember something. John Mara said it in that Hard Knocks. Saquon Barkley, dude, I will give you this. Saquon Barkley is one of the most popular Giant players in team history. I mean, in team history. And now you see why, don't you? You hear people the way they talk about him, what kind of teammate he is. Did you hear Kellen Moore today talking about?
He didn't produce that well there. I mean, he had a couple big years there, but he didn't do anything crazy.
They didn't build anything around him.
Yeah. I mean, I know that, but I'm saying I don't know why he was so historic for New York just because they spent a second rounder on him.
No, second pick.
That's what I meant, second pick.
Yeah. Well, hey, Giant fans knew that the Giants hadn't done anything under Dave Gettleman with him. They had no O-line. Any person that covers that team or follows that team knows that's been the worst era of Giant football between Joe Schoen and Dave Gettleman that I've ever seen. And now with him here.
I hope them dumbasses draft Jalen Milroe.
No. You know who they're going to take? The draft order, I think New England's got it 1, and then Tennessee's up there. I could see Tennessee, but there's no way that Deion's going to allow his kid. I could see Cam going to Tennessee. And I think both Cam and Shedeur Sanders are overrated. I think the quarterback class this year is the worst.
I like Cam though.
Milroe.
Cam can throw the ball a lot. Like, he's been in situations where he threw it a lot this year.
I'll tell you what I do like about him. His pocket presence and how calm he is back there in the pocket. Yeah. He's pretty good back there in the pocket.
He's a passer, dude. He's a passer.
Yeah,
like I said to you yesterday, I think the game is evolving before our eyes, and the dual threat quarterback is not going anywhere. But I think you gotta have the ability to throw the ball well. You're going to have the ability to throw the ball well. And, Jaden Daniels is showing a lot of that right now. Lamar Jackson's probably your best example of it. Even younger guys like Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, they're not runners, but they're mobile. Patrick Mahomes is mobile. I think that's where you're moving into. You're moving probably a little bit away from the statues, but you got it. Passing has to be first, and Milroe, it's not. Milroe passing is second.
Probably the kid that's in the draft is probably the one guy that I would think that would be ready to play would be that Dillon Gabriel kid. I mean, when I watch him play, if I'm going to take a guy in the first round that's going to help my football team and I need a quarterback, of all the guys, it would be Dillon Gabriel.
If I had a ready-made team, I would go for Dillon Gabriel.
Because look at Bo Nix. It kind of reminds me of the same kind of thing.
Like that. Yep, a team like that. Is he a lefty, Gabriel?
I forget. He started at UCF. That's how I know.
Brian said he's a lefty.
He's a lefty? Oh, my God. That means I'd have to rebuild my entire offensive line.
I know. I hate that.
I hate that, too. And then you know what you have to do? You can't have a backup that's a right-hander. You got to have a backup lefty, too, because what are you going to do? Flip the entire offensive line around?
I know.
Again. Your blindside quarterback?
That's why I was a little confused by the Atlanta move. Because Atlanta went from Cousins to Penix, and Penix is a lefty.
I know. And to me, I think that creates conflict in your O-line.
Absolutely.
Because now your right tackle is your blind side. And that's even a functional thing in your salary cap. Because most of the time outside of – Philly's got – do I think Lane could have played left tackle in his career and been an all-pro? Yes. He's one of those very few guys – that could have played both sides, okay? Most of the time, Xander, when you have a bust at left tackle, you put him at right tackle or you put him at right guard like Micaiah Becton. Micaiah Becton's playing right guard for a reason. You know what that usually is? Because you failed at left tackle.
Yeah, well, that's where he is.
That's where you put guys in there. But he's excelled at the right guard position, which he's now making – an incredible amount of money every time he steps on the field. Are you concerned about the 340 carries the most this week with Barkley?
Yeah.
And that's why you're not going to run him, is because of the amount of volume of carries. He's never had over 300 carries in his entire career.
I got zero concern. Zero. If you want to ask me about if I have concern next year, that's a different answer. You're talking about right now, he's a train. He's a choo-choo train, man. Every time he runs, he looks faster. Every time he gets in the open field, he looks like he has a new gear that he hasn't yet unlocked, and he finds it and runs away from everybody. So is it a lot of carries? For sure. Will it have an effect down the line? Potentially. Do I think it matters amidst a Super Bowl run? No, not at all. I hear your point. I'm not trying to knock you. I'm just saying, do I expect him to come into a game in the playoffs and just not be good? No, I mean, he's fine. He's fine. Maybe, like you said, maybe down the line, maybe next year, maybe a couple years from now, it takes some tread off those tires. But right now, I got no issue with it. He's running so well, man. He looks so fast, so fresh. He looks like he drank from the fountain of youth this offseason, man. He looks young. I mean, he doesn't look like a guy that had a couple knee surgeries. Not to me, he doesn't.
Here's why I 100% agree with you. If you're taking 340 carries behind the Giant offensive line versus taking 340 carries behind the Eagle offensive line, I'm getting hit by tackles and linebackers in New York. You know what I'm getting hit by in Philly? Free safeties. That's a whole different world, dude, than being dragged down by free safeties and corners, than being dragged down by Dexter Lawrence and big-time linebackers like Fred Warner. My point is, I'm not taking on the physical toll that I took when I'm in New York. The carries are different. You agree? I mean, the Giants had one guy, left tackle. The kid's a good player that they have. The rest of those guys were garbage. In Philadelphia, all 5 guys are Pro Bowlers. They don't touch him. Brian Dawkins said it on our program. They don't touch him until he's 40 yards in the line of scrimmage, and he goes like this. Guess who's hitting him? Free safeties. Free safeties are hitting Saquon Barkley. Yeah. That's not making a big deal on him because he's running those frickers over, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. When you're talking about New York or some place that has
there's no Brian Dawkins is back there anymore, so
no. But my point is that you're not taking on those big D tackles.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But Brian Dawkins is a different story. If he still had some B Docs playing safety, it'd be a different game. But no, you're right, 100%.
All right. One thing before we do the supers, because we got Merrill Reese at the bottom of the hour here, and we're only going till 5 o'clock today to give you guys a great New Year's Eve. We'll be with you guys tomorrow, man. So please be with us too. It's going to be a great football day tomorrow. I got my top 10 power rankings for NFL football teams.
All right. You want me to do mine?
What?
You want me to do mine?
Sure.
All right. I'll try and whip it up real quick.
Here's my 10. Here are the 10 football teams that so far going into the final week that I think these are the 10 best teams in the league. At number 10, I got the Los Angeles Chargers. I think the Chargers play good on defense. I love Derwin James. I think Justin Herbert has absolutely – look at I'm awake or you. I said 10 Chargers. Terrible list. I love you. I'm awake or you. Terrible list. I named one name. Terrible list. All right. I got the Chargers right now at number 10. I've got the Los Angeles Rams at number 9. I've got the Washington Commanders at number 8. I've got the Green Bay Packers at number 7. I've got the Baltimore Ravens at number 6.
We have a very similar list.
I have the Philadelphia Eagles at number 5. And I'll make my point why. I've got the Vikings at number 4. I've got the Buffalo Bills at number 3. I've got the Lions at number 2. And I've got the Chiefs at number 1. And here's why I have those other 4 teams. By the way, the Eagles are in the conversation to win the Super Bowl, no question. The Minnesota Vikings and the Lions have had a better year than the Eagles. They play in the toughest division in football in the NFC North. There's no debating that. The Bills have the best player in the NFL, and the Chiefs are 15-1. I mean, the Chiefs are 15-1. The Lions and the Minnesota Vikings have had a better year than Philly, playing the toughest division in football. And the best player in the league is in Buffalo. And you got the Eagles at 5.
I don't hate it. I'm actually not mad at it at all. I think it's a decent list by you.
Chiefs, Lions, Bills, Vikings, Eagles, Ravens, Packers, Commanders, Rams, Chargers. And I left the Steelers out because I think the Steelers are melting down.
They are. We broke them.
Yeah, you did. 3-game losing streak.
Boy, my list is pretty NFC dominant.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 10 I have
I
are
think I
the
have
NFC.
7 of the 10.
Okay.
I got the
By the way,
I got 7 of the 10 teams. That might be all.
Yale's right. If you wanted to put Philadelphia in at the 4 hole and the Vikings at the 5 hole, I'd be okay with that.
I think Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens are the three for the AFC for me. I mean, I guess the Steelers are the other team. Chargers, you had Chargers at 10. I'm fine with that. I put a different team at 10 just because I think they're a little bit better. But can you read your top real quick? Rattle them off to me.
Okay, I got Chiefs 1, I got Lions 2, I got Bills 3, I got Vikings 4, I got Eagles 5, I've got Ravens 6, I got Packers 7, I got Commanders 8, I got the Rams 9, and I got the Chargers 10.
Okay. All right, you ready for mine?
Yeah, please.
All right, so 10, I got the Buccaneers. I put them in over the Chargers. I think they're playing better. I think they're getting healthier right now.
I debated
guy
that.
Who stepped up in place of Chris Godwin's been great. Mike Evans is a beast again. Looks like he might break the 1,000-yard mark again. And Baker Mayfield's just – I mean, you can't do what Baker Mayfield does without skill. I don't care what anybody says. He's playing amazing football right now. And I like their defense, obviously, with Todd Bowles. I got the Bucs at 10. Number 9, I got the Rams, and this was kind of a toss-up to put the Rams or the Bucs here, switch them. But I went with the Rams. They have a slightly better record, and I like McVay and I like Stafford. So I gave them the edge and put them at 9. Number 8, I got the Commanders. Again, was thinking of going Packers here, but I think I'm going to give the Packers a slight advantage late in the year here because they're a playoff experienced team. They played late in the year last year, and I think they're a better team down the stretch here. But I do like the Commanders. They've come a long way. So I get the Commanders at 8. Number 7, I got the Packers. Jordan Love, streaky player. When he looks good, he looks really good. When he doesn't look good, he doesn't look good at all. But they've done pretty well, and their coach has done a good job even since Aaron Rodgers left. So Packers 7. Number 6, I got the Ravens. I'm not buying them as a real Super Bowl contender, but I do think they're a great team. And anytime you have Lamar,
because of
defense and Lamar in the playoffs, man, he doesn't seem to be able to get the job done. So we're going to see, but I have them at 6. Bills, I got the Bills at 5. I know that's a little low for them, but I don't know.
Only lost this year by the Chiefs is to now it wasn't Buffalo.
I know, and I know it's low for the Bills. I know it's low, but I'm having a hard time thinking that Josh Allen's going to be able to do this all alone, all through the offseason, all through the postseason. I just don't see the guys there, dude. The horses aren't in the stable. I mean,
you don't think he can win 4 games in a row?
I don't. In the play, I can't. I mean, and it's not a knock on him. I think he's a great player. Defense is ass. He really doesn't have great playmakers. No. I mean, there's not that many people there. No. You know, so I got the Bills at 5.
He's going to have to play great 5 years in a row. It's a great take on how you're looking at that because can he play? Because they're going to play in a wild card. You got the divisional round, then you got the championship. Then if you make it, you got the Super Bowl. It's 4 games in a row.
Dude, if somehow the Bengals sneak in and the Dolphins have to lose and the
Denver Broncos,
Denver has to lose and then the Bengals have to win. If they sneak in, that's going to be the first round matchup for the Bills.
Wow.
So think about it. Josh Allen's going to have to be not great. Josh Allen's going to have to be
exceptional,
MVP exceptional every game for 4 straight playoff games. That's an uphill battle there.
And get this, you're probably going to have to go Burrow, Lamar, and Mahomes if you're Buffalo.
Right, exactly, which is absurd. Number 4. I got the Vikings. I was thinking of it. I put the Eagles edging them out because I think the Eagles are a little bit more well-rounded, but Vikings got great playmakers. Sam Darnold is delivering the ball. I know we all expect him to turn into a pumpkin, but look, guys, at what point can we give him the benefit of the doubt? Like, you can't throw for 4,200 yards in the NFL and 35 touchdowns without talent. You can't. I don't care who you're throwing to. Sam Darnold's doing a damn good job. And
you're buying Mayfield now, right? You're buying Mayfield now, right?
Well, that's why I have him 10.
Yeah. Well, people are going to have to start buying Darnold too, like you're saying.
I've liked Mayfield since he came out, but he's definitely. I'm now buying him as a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, I'm going Eagles. I'm going Eagles right here. I don't have them above the Lions yet. I'm going Eagles at number 3. My main concern, the main reason I have them at number 3 is I don't think you want to be one-dimensional in the playoffs. And I haven't seen, like, I watched that Lions team last night, and I know that defense is cheeks, but our offense, man, we don't move the ball like that. Don't move the ball like that. They go up. It was like butter, man, watching that game. Butter. Detroit, carving them up, getting playmaker. I mean, Tim Patrick's getting involved. Jahmyr Gibbs is involved. St. Brown's involved. Jameson, everybody's involved in that offense. And that's the reason I gave them the edge over the Eagles at number 2. Number 2 for the Detroit Lions. And number 1, your 15-1 Kansas City Chiefs.
Can't get around it. I mean, you just can't get around how good the Chiefs are. I mean, and plus, here's the thing too. It's a great list. They're absolutely getting better. Okay, they're getting better right now as a football team. Kansas City, weren't they doing this a year ago too? Andy Reid has that innate way to get that football team ready to rock and roll towards the end of the season, just like he did a year ago, man. That's a pretty damn good list. All right, Xander, let's do the supers here. We got Merrill Reese at the bottom of the hour here.
Yeah, good stuff. Looking forward to hearing from the great Merrill Reese. Seth, wait, let me go to the bottom. I'll get to you, Seth. Rick says, Brick, what's up, brother? Hire Johnson, OC head coach. Trade off Hurts and Pickett. Roll with the Mormon missile. Sign a few elite defensive linemen to pair with Carter equals multiple rings. How you doing?
Hey.
Holy shit, Rick.
Hey, Rick, I don't think they need to make that much of a decision when it comes to adding more players. I think what they can do in the offseason, I think they can do it in the draft. Hey, by the way, just to show
how you doing, Rick?
Hey, it's my boy Chop Robinson's making a strong case for the NFL Rookie of the Year, and he's in that conversation. Do you want to hear my ballot today? Do you want to hear my ballot right now real quick? I sent this in. There's one more week. I got Jared versus number 1. I got Quinyon Mitchell, number 2. Q was number 1 last week. I got Chop Robinson, number 3 from the Dolphins. I got Fisk from the Rams, 4. I got Cooper DeJean, 5. I got Kamari Lassiter, 6. I've got Bullock, 7. Teron Arnold, 8. And 2 guys I loved, Edgerrin Cooper is 9. And Peyton Wilson is 10. The 3 guys that I wanted the Eagles to draft, Chop Robinson and Cooper, Edgerrin Cooper and Peyton Wilson, these guys are in the top 10 of the Rookie of the Year defensively. And I think Verse is going to win it. But here I'll make the comment.
I don't think Quinyon's in the running really anymore.
Well, here, Xander, here's to me. There's got to be some accolades for this team if they finish number 1 defensively. I mean, somebody's got to win something.
Not really.
I guess not, because nobody's going to
listen, because you know how it is, right?
Yep.
The Browns unit has taken a step back, but Myles Garrett's going to win an award. You know, the Eagles are a unit.
Gonna win it.
The Eagles are a defensive unit, right? They're a defensive unit. They're not, and we talk about this, as good as Jalen Carter is yet, he still hasn't reached that level of you have 1 game record. We don't have that on defense. We have a great collection of talent Vic Fangio is pulling the most out of every player, and that has combined to make a number. There's our offense is pieced together way differently.
You don't have
you have all-stars. You
don't have an elite player. You don't have an elite player outside of Jalen Carter on defense.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean you don't have an absolute game changer like a Garrett, like a Watt. You know, like a Bosa, one of those guys. You don't have that yet.
You don't. Now, that's not saying in 2 years you're not going to. Okay?
I think Jalen Carter's on his way to being that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I guarantee you this. I promise you, there'll be other guys that are going to make the all-pro team. Like Chris Jones is going to be cemented into that. And you know who else is going to be? Cam Hayward for the Steelers is going to be the other D tackle.
Another great player, man. Another great player.
Okay? Those 2 guys are going to do that. All right.
Let's keep rolling here. Brian Pump, what's up, brother? Appreciate all your support, Brian. He says, well, we better win the bowl this year because that 2026 schedule is a gauntlet. 2025, but yeah, it is. Jalen Hurts better step it the fuck up with his inept ass. Did you see that schedule?
I did.
We're going to the Chiefs. We're going to the Packers. We're going to the Vikings. We got holy shit.
Yes, sir. Get that passing game going, baby.
Right on the bench says matchups is key. I think Philadelphia O-line can control Detroit defensive line more than the opposite. With Minnesota, our D-line can create more pressure against them. Right on the bench, I think you're right. My point is that Detroit scored 35 points. Can you keep up?
Minnesota.
All right, great. Philly O-line controls. Are you going to score 35 points with that O-line in the run game?
I think Minnesota's
that's my take, though. It's not that we're not going to control the lines. It's that we're not going to be able to keep up.
Minnesota's O-line is underrated. Okay? It's about the 5th best group in the league this year. They're good, dude. They got a 1,200-yard rusher, and they've got 2,000-yard receivers. I mean, they got a 4,200 passing guy. They're pretty balanced in what they do up there. That guy, Kevin O'Connell, is the slam dunk NFL Coach of the Year. Matchups will be key, though. Agreed.
That's for sure. Brian said, good guys finally win. Yes, sir. Zay, I think he's talking about the jersey. He emailed me. Brian, thank you, bro. I'll email you back once I'm off here. All right, man. And I'll get your information and I'll get you your jersey sent out. Brian, I'm sure that one of the great things that you take pride in, Brian, is that you are 100% anonymous in the chat. All right. Do not worry. Big Z will not disclose anything to anybody about any of our great viewers that contact me. All right, Brian? So you don't got to worry about that. All right. Seth Shifley says, also, Detroit's man coverage plays well to our offensive strength, especially with AJ going up against a rookie corner.
Yep. Okay. Teron Arnold. Yep. They are also, without Aiden Hutchinson, they're not exceptional either when it comes to pass rushing. The guy they got from Cleveland, Smith, though, is a pretty good ball player.
Yeah, and if they get Carlton Davis back, but also they're not going to. You think they're going to leave a guy man coverage all game with AJ Brown alone? They're going to give him help with Branch or Kirby Joseph, somebody. They're come on, man. They're not going to. Maybe there will be moments, but they're not going to. That's not going to be the overwhelming part of the game. Seth again says, hey, Sills, what's the formula to beat Detroit? Do you think Hurts' legs make a difference?
Yes, I do. I think you run at them. Because again, they're not very good and very stout in that run game. And I'll tell you what, man, I'd like to see. I want Detroit to prove to me you could stop that slant pass, because I don't think you can. I think if they run in between the tackles with Barkley, they get play action going. It'll be a nightmare, in my opinion, trying to stop that slant pass with A.J. Brown. I want to see that. That's why I'm saying I think Minnesota's more set up to stop that, because they got more playmakers on defense to handle that offense than, say, Detroit does. Detroit's banged up. A completely healthy Detroit, I think they're in there. But Minnesota's healthier, dude. And I think Minnesota might be playing as good as Detroit offensively. Did you see what they did against Green Bay? I mean, that kid threw for 380 and 4 touchdowns.
The thing is that Minnesota plays a lot more games that are dogfights. And I like the Eagles in a dogfight. I don't like the Eagles in a shootout. That's the difference for me in the two teams. But I think what you're saying is right. Eagles Talk says Sirianni has a cringiness to him.
It's the word salad BS that he
That's
has.
Putting it mildly, I would say.
I think you're being kind.
Yeah, he's very cringy. Brian Pumper again, 31st in passing. Are we sure it's not pretty privilege? If he had Jordan Davis's face, he looked like he would have been benched. No homo. McKeister movement loading.
Wow. Drop the homo reference. Thank you very much. Happy New Year's.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Yo, Brian is hilarious.
He's going to win the Super Bowl. I want to thank everybody. You think he's accepting the Academy Award?
Oh, my God. Brian.
No homo. Okay.
Knight, he does win. Cringy, but winning. He does win, Knight. You got to give him that. But Knight, he also does have a great roster, which is a credit to Howie Roseman. So,
yep, it is.
But you're not wrong. He does win. All right, we got a couple more here. High Tide. Look at it. Are you chirping me with the roll tide? Fuck you. Man. All right, here we go. Eagles all day. Clock management. What you talking about?
Yeah, all good. Eagle all day. Thank you guys very much here, man.
Barbarian. Wait, I got one more. Barbarian says our defense is great, but the reality is the Eagles are 1 superior edge rusher away from being a real killer defense.
Yes. I agree with that.
I agree. We
Hey,
got
this,
two edge rushers. We need a beast.
Hey, Paul, what would Myles Garrett look on that defense? If you put Myles Garrett on that defense?
Please don't have me dreaming that.
Dude, Myles Garrett on that defense, you could start getting your tickets to New Orleans.
Dude, Myles Garrett on that defense is insane.
That would be absolutely crazy. Xander, great stuff, my friend. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, man. You're killing it. By the way, you were right. Nick had to walk into Jeffrey Lurie's office on his knees today. Hey, do you think we could get the record today? What are you thinking?
It was never Nick's decision.
It's right. No, hey, guys, what do you think? I want him to get the record. Goes into his dad's house, and his dad goes like this. No, we're not getting the record. Hey, guys, I'm sorry I made it the call here. We're not going to do it. Get the hell out of here, man. Look at this here. Eagle all day. What do we got? Keep them off the field.
Long drives.
You're right. Here's another one here. You see BG coming back for the playoffs? I don't think so. That kind of injury that he has is about a 6-month job.
How about Bonehead today chirping me? Where's my jersey? I'm like, dude, you won it on a Christmas Eve. I God forbid that Z takes a day off here and there. All right, I take a day off. I get to the post office yesterday. I shipped this thing out. I got to send Bonehead the tracking number today to shut his ass up.
The tracking number to prove it that it's out. Who are you?
Holy
Mike
shit.
Missinelli?
I mean, are you kidding me, Bonehead?
Hey, Bonehead, what are you going to do? We're going to go to court over this? Believe me, we're used to it.
Where's my Jerome jersey?
Holy shit.
Elizabeth,
Hey, no, we're used to going to court here, so go ahead.
Yeah, really. Holy shit. I love you, Bonehead. You're hilarious. Elizabeth, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all JAKIB Nation, man. Sills, this was a fun 24, man. What do you think? Good year for you?
Oh, my God. We grew this bitch like a crazy person, and it's been a great year. And I didn't know what it was going to look like, with our moves, and it's been better. I mean, I think we have absolutely, what you found out? John Madden made a great comment before. He said this: sometimes when things is looking like your ship's going under, the rats come to the top of the ship. And you know what? When your ship starts setting out to sea, you know which people you're going to go to war with and go out to sea with. And I think that's what happened this year for us.
Yep, absolutely, brother.
We knew exactly what was going to go down this year. And all of a sudden, we know the people we're going to row to sea with. Famous Big Sales words. Xander, I missed the super chat. Xander.
I know. I'll go and take a piss, and I'm like, I hear Sileo crying in there. And miss the super chat. I'll get to it. Sileo.
Xander, I can't hear you. Hit F10, asshole.
Yeah, it's fun. The funniest thing that we get is people comment that somebody's Cileo's burner or Brian Pumper Sileo. I'm like, if you guys knew how illiterate Sileo was when it comes to computer and technology and using, I mean, this guy's been doing a show for 4 years. He barely knows how to click his mouse, for crying out loud. I mean, holy shit. This guy's not making burner accounts.
Hey, Cileo's got multiple burner accounts, and I'm like, what would make you absolutely think that I barely can log on? When Xander sends me the link, I'm like, is this yesterday or today?
Yeah,
Xander, let me go,
brother.
man. We're going to catch up with Merrill Reese here soon. We will catch you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir. 8 a.m, baby. First day of 2025. You're ringing in with JAKIB Sports, right, baby? Let's do it. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely, man. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and then we'll also see him at 3:30. Don't forget our great friends at BetUS, guys. During this football season, especially this week with all these bowl games coming up, the YouTube 150, that is sign-up bonuses up to $2K. Your second is 125% up to $2K. And your third, go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year. Live wagering on all major games. Plus, you get your own account executive. Do me a favor. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Xander, we're not going to take a break here. We're going to go. And, of course, because I keep a lot of people waiting. Okay? There's two people I don't keep waiting. You ready? My wife and Merrill Reese. Now, I don't know how to quantify that or put anything together here, but there's two people I don't leave waiting. So let's go to the legendary Merrill Reese here and get his take. And I want to say Happy New Year to you right out of the gate. Yeah, Merrill, you're in a very exclusive group, kind of like now Saquon Barkley is with 9 men, 2K. There's only one guy that I never put on hold. It's my wife and you. So I'm just putting you also in an exclusive club.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Happy New Year to you, Dan.
See, I'm going to start this thing off, and I've been glazing over your offensive line. And I'm going to say it to you. You've seen them all. This is the best offensive line you've ever had. It's the best group. All 5 guys could be Pro Bowlers and should be Pro Bowlers. Mekhi Becton has been the best right guard, and I liked Isaac Seumalo. I don't know what your 17 group had. Marcus Hayes was on with us a couple weeks ago, and he loved that 2004 roster too, and said he thought that was the best roster of players. He liked that 04 group. I'm more in the line of this offensive line. This is where this team is. Do you believe this is the best O-line they've ever put together?
Well, you say ever. You say ever. So if in modern times or since the last 20 years or so, because don't forget when I began in 1492, when I began with Dick Vermeil as the head coach, they went to the Super Bowl at the end of the 1980 season, and they had a bunch of all-pros too. That offensive line was Guy Morris at center, Woody Peoples and Petey Payrow were the guards. Woody Peoples had been a multiple-time All-Pro. The tackles were tremendous. My former broadcast partner, Stan Walters, was a great All-Pro left tackle, and the right tackle was a first pick by the Eagles in the draft, All-American from Texas and All-Pro by the name of Jerry Sizemore. So that at that time was a great offensive line. So I don't like having to compare groups from that far back to this far back to this point. But I'd say they were a great offensive line, and this is a great offensive line, and this is a better offensive line coach in Jeff Stoutland.
Absolutely. And Merrill, and I'm going to put my hat on here a little bit because back then in that time, my uncle was running the Giants, and I'm trying to think right now. You had a guy in there named Perrott because I think he was playing like left guard and all, and I was Montgomery. Leroy Harris, I think, was your fullback, if I'm not mistaken. Carmichael was one of the wide receivers, and a guy by the name of Charlie Smith, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. No, you're right.
Also on that team.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you this. One of my very first jerseys I ever had, I was a Giant guy back in the day. I have no idea how I got an Eagle Old Mesh number 66. Just your comments on Bill Bergey and what kind of player he was. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler. You could make the argument he should be in serious consideration. I do a lot of stuff for the Hall of Fame, and I'm kind of perplexed a little bit. He was a defensive rookie of the year with the Bengals, and he was instrumental in that defense that went all the way to the Super Bowl that beat that Cowboy team in the NFC title game. But your reflection a little bit on Bergey and what he meant as an Eagle.
He was great. He shouldn't be in consideration for the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Should have happened years ago. But that Eagles team was not on national television a whole lot, and they were in one Super Bowl, and that was it. But Bubba, we called him Bubba, was a great football player, Sideline to sideline, there was nobody like him. People talked about how ferocious he was. His greatest asset was his speed, sideline to sideline. For a middle linebacker, he was unbelievable. Just a great football player. And his funeral is this week. As a matter of fact, I will be one of those giving the eulogy. And he was just an amazingly nice person. I've never met anybody who loved the fans more. He never turned down an autograph request. or a request to take a picture. He was just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful human being. He and his wife, Becky, just a great couple, but there are so many wonderful things about him. But he was a great player. He was a great ambassador of the game. And really, to me, I remember later Harry Carson of the Giants got in the Hall of Fame when he finally was so disgusted that he took his name out, and that's when they put him in. Yeah. But Bill was better than Harry Carson.
Absolutely was. And Harry, I have great respect for here.
Yeah, they both belong in, but Bill was every bit as good, if not better.
Absolutely. And you know what I can even make the argument for, too? And this was obviously one of your first teams that you covered. I could make the conversation to you with Bunning, Bergey, LeMaster, and Robinson. That might be the greatest foursome of linebackers the Eagles have ever had at one time for a group. I mean, those guys, Bunning was just a tremendous player. LeMaster was as well. And right. Jerry Robinson was, I believe, the last first-round pick that you took as a middle linebacker at UCLA, because I think he played for Vermeil when he was at UCLA. So that could be the best collection of linebackers.
Three-time All-American at UCLA when they could only play 3 varsity years.
Right. No, do you agree that could be the best foursome of linebackers you've had in that?
Yeah,
in your, at least in your era of calling the team.
I would say yes. I would say, well, don't forget you had Jeremiah Trotter in there, and Seth Joyner. They were great linebackers too.
Absolutely. Merrill, where are you on this with Saquon Barkley going for 2105 this week? It's a historic mark. It was a mark set during my time when I was playing. I played against Dickerson. He was with the Colts. I came in 87, so he had done that in 84. So he had done that a few years prior to me getting there, but that's around my time. And everyone knows that's a historic. Nobody knows what the all-time passing number is in a single season. But you know what certain records are, 2105. It's historic. Players love to have a resume with something historic. When you can make history in the NFL, I know Super Bowls are the ultimate. How do you see this?
I'm not divided at all. I think the decision was probably made 4 or 5 weeks ago when they talked about the fact that they might have nothing to play for in that last week and that Saquon would be close. Dan, after last season, the way the team came apart at the end of the season, I think they sat down and they said, what can we do to go to the Super Bowl? Let's do everything we can to go to the Super Bowl. So they went out, and Howie Roseman led the way with Nick Sirianni, and they hired 2 exceptional coordinators, in Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore. And then they went out and they picked up some great free agents. And of course, the greatest of all was Saquon Barkley, but they picked up a lot of great free agents, guys like Zach Bond. How good is he? They made so many good moves. And then they had a tremendous draft. To get Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean 1 and 2, and other players who are contributing. Jalen Hunt is now starting to come into his own. But these drafts, it's all they thought about was what can we do to get to the Super Bowl. Then they had a training camp where they were somewhat light in physicality because they wanted a healthy team going into the season. And then they started the season disappointingly to some. Personally, you and I have talked about it. I don't count September because September to me is an extension of the preseason.
You're right.
But when they went home after losing to Tampa Bay, 33-16, it was pretty disappointing. And at that point, they got together and put everything together, and they haven't lost the game. Well, they hadn't lost the game for 10 weeks. So I just swallowed a peanut. But anyhow, they hadn't lost the game. They went 10 straight. Everything predicated on going to the Super Bowl. So here they are. They're a team that hasn't had a bye week since the first week in October. That's the first week in October. That's the last time they had a bye. And this team is banged up. These offensive linemen are, no matter how well they played last week, they're weary. Saquon Barkley, look at the carries he's had. Look at the
340 carries to this day he's had.
Look at the pounding that he has taken. I don't care what he says. He's hurting right now. He's not fresh as a daisy. He may look, he's amazing because on game day he turns it on, but he can use a rest. If they were to play the regulars this week, now maybe if he needed 20 yards or 25 yards, but he needs at least a half or three quarters. If they were to play the regulars this week and lose one guy, it could ruin everything they've put together for the last 9 months. I think there's no question that they have to keep the regulars off the field. Don't put Saquon Barkley out there. You know, they tried that last year because you know how badly they finished. So what did they do? They figured, all right, let's go. They had a chance to get a higher seed, but let's put the regulars out here because we're playing so badly right now. They lost to Arizona. They were awful. Let's go out there and have them beat the Giants and get ready for the playoffs. They'll come together. What happened? Not only did they play terribly against the Giants, you know who they lost? They lost A.J. Brown. And do you know that in that game, Jalen Hurts also dislocated a finger? It was a terrible team that came to the to Tampa Bay, and they got run out of the building. There is no question in my mind. Now, I don't know this is a fact, so don't think that I'm reporting this, but there's no question in my mind that they decided weeks ago that nobody plays in this game. And Saquon Barkley's great achievement was when he hit that 2,000-yard rushing mark and joining that club of 8 other superb backs. You know what? When they go to 18 games, which you know they will in a couple of years, somebody will bring it then. Somebody will break it then. So to me, he's had an amazing season. If it weren't like automatic for quarterbacks to get it, he deserves the MVP. But enough is enough. Let these people go to the playoffs in the best possible shape. Philadelphia really won't remember the record. They'll remember the fact that he ran for 2,000 yards. But what Philadelphia will remember is another Lombardi trophy.
I got 2 questions on this then.
Okay.
There is precedent that Sirianni's group has done something like this in the past. When Devontae Smith wanted to get the rookie record for receptions, they put him out there in a game that didn't matter, and they got the record for him and then pulled people. So there has been a precedent there.
But how many? Tell me how many plays he was out there for?
Not many. He needed a couple catches to get.
If you told me that Saquon Barkley needed under 30 yards, I'd say, okay, put him out there for part of the first quarter. But he doesn't need 30 yards. He needs 101 yards, and that's a full menu. That's not the same.
No, okay, fair enough. Merrill, let me ask you this. Do you think that the most memorable team of all time in Eagle history, or wait a minute, in your broadcasting history, would you not agree, is Gang Green? Even the 17 Super Bowl team, even the 04 team, even the 22 team, those Buddy Ryan teams, Philadelphia Eagle fans remember those teams as much as anybody because of what those guys meant. Now, if you're Jeff Stoutland and you're an offensive lineman and you're the organization and you're Howie, like you mentioned, who went out and basically saved him from the Giants, and you get the all-time rushing record for a single season, and that offensive line will have that on their resume. And I get the ultimate. You're right. You're dead on the Super Bowl. Wouldn't you want to have that number associated with you? Because the Buddy Ryan teams didn't win a Super Bowl. Hell, they didn't even get to an NFC title game, I don't think.
No.
Okay, but people in Philly remember those guys. And I would remember 2105. I'm not saying I wouldn't remember 2K, because I will, because there's only 9 men that have ever done it, and I can name you the 9. I know that you're right.
Sure.
But to me, boy, don't you think that offensive group, that old line group, Stoutland, Howie, the executive group that brought him in, wouldn't they want that associated with them and what they've done this year?
Yeah, if he had done it last week. but not this week. I don't honestly. You know what? If you asked every offensive lineman, would he like to go out there and block for Saquon this week to get the record? They'd all say yes, because that's what you want to hear. But deep down, Jordan Mailata was missing for 3 or 4 weeks. He was hurt. They're tired. If you ask them what they really, really want, they really want a Super Bowl. That's what Philadelphia, and you're right about the Buddy Ryan teams. They were memorable, but if you ask Philadelphians what was their favorite team, they will tell you they were Doug's team that won the Super Bowl. The only Super Bowl this city has ever won. And the only other championship they won came in 48, 49, and 60. So that's 10 centuries ago. Yeah. But if you ask Philadelphians, what do they want? Do they want the record, or do they want the Super Bowl, the Lombardi trophy? There's no question. It's easy for them to say, let them rush for the record. How about me as a broadcaster? What would I rather do? I'd rather come to the stadium this week and try, like this week, I had a lot of fun going. Saquon Barkley, off right tackle, 4 yards. He needs 45 to become the first ninth player to hit. I counted it down on each carry. And when he made it, I just absolutely exploded. But I want to say something. I know that I might be having more fun if that were the case, but it's not what they should be doing. It's not. I will sacrifice it. I'll do a kind of a preseason game, which is what that is. And Mike and I will get through it and try to be interesting and entertaining. We'll have fun with it. I'm anxious to look at some of these young players out there. I want to see these guys because I want to see Tristan McCall. I want to see Sidney Brown. I want to see some more Tanner McKee. And you won't get Pickett because his ribs are bad. But I want to see these guys this week. I don't want to see these guys. And all of a sudden you see Landon Dickerson lying down. And you say, oh, my goodness, how bad is it? Could they be without Landon Dickerson next week? I don't want to see Zach Bowen all of a sudden limp off the field. I don't want to see any of that.
Merrill, stop making sense. And I'll tell you what I don't like here. It's now I'm going to be denied. You just set it up for me. Barkley, 60 yards shy of 2105. Barkley, 22 yards shy of 2105.
I'll tell you, wait a minute. When I get off the air, I'll tape one for you, and you can play it before you go to bed.
I'm gonna keep playing it back on my phone.
It can be your dream.
Merrill, a couple last ones here for you. Please tell me you even have been surprised with what Vic Fangio has done with this defense. Merrill, he said it at the golf tournament. I think he was playing with you. I'll let you know around week 12 who we are. They're the number one defense in the NFL. I mean, it's insane on how good and I made this comment today, and you tell me if you agree. I love Quinyon Mitchell, and I think he's had a great year. But when they put Cooper DeJean in after the bye, he's been a game changer like John Lynch. I mean, and it was Vic with the trust of putting him in there. He had missed almost the entire preseason. Even you have to be shocked with what Vic has done with this team.
Well, I'm not shocked because I have a great deal of faith in Vic Fangio, and I know his reputation, and I know that as a defensive coordinator, he has no peers. I mean, he's absolutely great. He reminds me of my dear departed friend Jim Johnson. But I will tell you this: every week across America, you hear a losing coach at his press conference say, I've got to do a better job putting the players in position to win, to make plays. Then the next week, the same thing happens and they lose again. Vic Fangio didn't say anything, but what he did was put the players in the right position to make plays. Nobody thought Zach Bowen was an inside linebacker, but Vic said he is. He put him inside. He's been as good as any inside linebacker that you can find. And then there was a guy last year who was a late first-round pick, and people were starting to use the B word. He could be a bust. We didn't see anything of Nolan Smith next year, And people asked Vic Fangio at the beginning of training camp or after a couple practices, is Nolan Smith, can you do anything with him? Vic Fangio said, he's a good player, and he's getting better every day. And I want to tell you something. Nolan Smith come on. He's an impact player. He has a sack every game. I mean, he's put these players out there, and they have confidence in him. He could tell them, do a backflip and 3 steps to your right, and you'll see 11 guys do backflips and move 3 steps to the right. They listen because he's proven right every single time.
Absolutely. I'm going to leave you with this. I just got a text message because I got a friend of mine who watches the show every day, and he goes, hey, make sure you tell Merrill. He goes, I didn't know this. He goes, Sid Gillman was the quarterback coach on that team with Dick Vermeil in 1980, and Marion Campbell was the defensive coordinator who was also on that team, and Jim Murray was the general manager on that team. I happen to know all them guys back then, and I didn't really know Sid Gilliam. Well, through my uncle, Andy Robustelli, I didn't know Sid Gilliam was a QB coach.
No. Sid Gillman.
Yeah, Sid Gillman. I didn't know.
Sid Gillman.
Yeah.
It's Sid Gillman. Now, do you know what Sid Gillman invented?
No.
I heard an interview once with Bill Walsh, the late Bill Walsh, talking about his innovation of the West Coast offense. And he said, no, it was taught to me by Sid Gillman. He invented the West Coast offense.
That's incredible. I did not. Every time you come on here, you give me a little tidbit of NFL history.
No, because I used to go into. You have time for a quick story?
Yeah, please.
I was a pest. I would go into. Then you today you don't get near the locker room or the coach's offices or anything. There's security all over the place. But I would go into Sid Gillman's office and ask him questions, and he'd sit down and he showed me film, and he was great. So one night the Eagles were playing Washington, and we're at the Crystal City Marriott, and I bump into Sid in the lobby, and I said to Sid, can you tell me how we use this, how you use the hash game, the hash marks in your passing, in your offense? He said, Merrill, come over here, sit down. I'm going to teach you something. So I sat down next to him. I sat down next to him on the couch, and he said, you know what? Every week you come to a stadium, and there are 60,000 offensive coordinators in the seats. They don't know a thing about defense, but they all think they understand offense. He said, tomorrow, we're playing this football team. We know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to give the ball to 44, and they're going to run the counter tray. We know that going into this game. And you know what else? We're going to have our backsides handed to us once again because we can't stop it. He said, play calling is great and it helps, but if you don't have the horses, if you can't overpower a team at the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win.
You know, now that you're saying this story, because he was the former head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers,
yeah.
And they had Ron Yeri, who's a friend of mine, and he said that he invented the spread offense. And that's where John Hadel got it, where he was throwing the ball around. And so, like you just said, Bill Walsh must have started using that when he was the OC in Cincinnati with Paul Brown. And then he became a guy, and obviously the West Coast offense, it started morphing more into shape in San Francisco.
He was so great. There's a whole story about Sid and Esther. Esther was his lovely wife. And when they got married and went on their honeymoon, he found a used motion picture equipment store wherever they went, and he bought a projector. And during their honeymoon, he was watching football film.
That's crazy great.
Did you hear the story about Sid Gillman and Randall Cunningham?
No, please tell me. I'd love it.
This is another good one. So this comes from Sid Gillman. He's not around to back it up, but it's a true story. So Sid Gillman loved Randall, and he thought that he had the greatest ability to be an all-time great quarterback. So he put together a film, and he said, Randall, I want you to take this home and watch it. It's got different quarterbacks. It's got Johnny Unitas. It's got some of the best quarterbacks in football. reading, going through their progressions, how to go through your progressions. And he put about a third of the way, he put a little piece of paper in the film. He gives it to Randall. Randall comes back the next day and he said, "Coach, I watched this. This is really great." And Sid calls me in. "You want to see something, Merle?" I said, "What?" Shows me the real film. The little piece of paper was still there. He never put it on.
What was Leonard Tose like?
Did you ever see the show Guys and Dolls?
Yes.
And it was written by Runyon, Rob Runyon. The writer, the famous writer. Anyhow, David. Oh my God, I can't remember. But anyhow, he was a Guys and Dolls type of character. You know, he was amazing. He was a gregarious person. He would read that somebody someplace was having bad times, and he'd take out money anonymously and send them $5,000. He would do anything. He was let the good times roll, Leonard Tose. He had a different suit every day. He arrived at practice very often in his helicopter. He came around with a yellow Rolls Royce convertible. Damon Runyon was the famous fight. He did fights and he did everything. Guys and Dolls was written by Damon Runyon, and they were the kind of characters. Let the good times roll. That was Leonard Tose. But if things weren't going well, he really wasn't beyond going down on the field and screaming to the coach until Dick Vermeil came. So one day, I came home from doing a game on a Sunday night, and I had to go up the next morning to do the morning sports at WIP. And my statistician, Jack Edelstein, who was a great friend of Leonard's, he was his court jester, called me in the middle of the night. He said, "Leonard wants to see you at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning." And I couldn't sleep. I'm trying to think, what did I say? What did I say? I can't imagine what I said that was so bad. So I'll get done WIP, go down to the vet. I go into Leonard Tose's office, and he said to me, "Sit down." And he starts stalking around, chain smoking cigarettes as he did, back and forth. And he said to me, "What do you think of Dick? What do you think of Dick Wood?" Dick Wood was the offensive coordinator. Well, I'm not going to talk about coaches. So I said, "Well, I mean, that every coach," I double talked him. "Every coach has it." I started out like that. He said, "I'll tell you what I think of Dick Wood. I don't think he could coach." And he went on to a tirade about Dick Wood. And then after 20 minutes, he says to me, "Thank you for coming in. I just wanted to hear what you had to say." And he said, "Because if I told this to Dick Vermeil, he'd kill me." So he was afraid of Dick Vermeil. He had so much respect for Dick Vermeil. He was the one coach that he stood back on. But he'd have different people come in. He needed a fresh set of ears. And I was the fresh set of ears on that day. But he had great parties. He had a breakfast for his 200 best friends in the lobby of Veterans Stadium every Sunday morning before games. They had every kind of caviar, everything you could imagine, every Sunday. He was Mr. Party. He was exciting. He was fun. He had a heart of gold. But unfortunately, he made great contributions to the casino and ended up broke.
Hey, Merrill, these are great. I'm going to leave you with a story, and I've kind of broached this with you. I was coached for 2 years at the University of Miami by Buddy Ryan when he was your head coach in 1986. And he would come down because our big benefactors, me and Jerome's, was Mr. Brayman, who's still alive.
Sure.
And we knew he came down in 1986. I believe that was Buddy's first year being the head coach in Philly. He would sit down for a week with me, Jerome, Stubbs, and a bunch of people, and he would coach us. And he got to be friends because Norman Brayman and him were then at the time, they were good friends, I think, in the first year. He would come down the next year and
First year only.
That was probably the only year.
Yeah.
But I knew in 1986 that Jerome Brown was going to be the Eagles' first pick because they're on the field. He looked at Jimmy, me, and everyone, and they go, I think we're going to be in the top 10. And if nobody takes Jerome before, we're taking Jerome. And, you know, he still lives in South Florida.
I know.
And he goes like this. He said flat out, he goes, Jerome's available. We're taking him. And everybody we knew for about a year and a half that even when he was with the Canes, it was already earmarked that he was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle.
Yeah, well, the year before, he went on his radio show the night before the draft, and someone called up and said, what do you think of drafting Keith Byers? And Buddy Ryan said, I wouldn't get anywhere near him. He is a medical reject. And the next morning, he took Keith Byers with his first pick.
And Keith Byers has told that story on this show. Hey, Merrill, have a great call this weekend. And I am expecting, Dan, 2 yards. There it is. Barkley for the record. I don't even care if it's real. I just want to play it in my mind. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And I'll talk to you next year.
You got it. Thank you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
That is the great Merrill Reese, man. I really appreciate it. Guys, let me do a live read here for you. Oh, by the way, we keep talking about playing Detroit, but we've got to have to get through Green Bay or Washington first. No question. Got any more supers? We'll do them right now as well. If we have any more. If not, we're going to do one Bet US here. If I'm not mistaken, Xander, I think that's where we are. That's it. All right. Hey, don't forget, our great friends at Bet US with the YouTube 150, guys. Make sure you guys sign up with the signing bonuses with all the college games that we have going on. Your second and third, 125% up to 2K. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Make sure you go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate it. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button. We are working tomorrow. It is the first day of the new year as you get ready for the upcoming football games, plus all of the college football playoff games are going to be on tomorrow as well. We appreciate you guys so much. Have a great new year. We appreciate everybody. Like I said, hit that like button. 2 to whatever tomorrow. We will see you on the first of the year. And we'll see you on the flip side.